These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More info at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleep and pain relief. More info is available at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Ground News, a well-rounded perspective for news readers. More info at ground.news/Tom. Angie, for any project on your to-do list. More info at Angie.com. Dinovite, a whole food supplement for your pet's immune system. More info at Dinovite.com. And ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom.
Well, it's the second week of our pledge drive, our winter pledge drive, and we're asking you once again to call 877-378-8669 and make a contribution to Free Speech TV. You can also text FSTV to 44-321, which is easy to remember, 44321, right? Just 2 4s, 321. But text FSTV, like Free Speech TV, to 44321, or 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. It has been suggested to me that perhaps by going on for a whole 6 minutes in this pitch every half hour, that I'm giving people an opportunity to run to the bathroom or putting them to sleep. So I wanted to bring you some information in the middle of this pitch. This brought to you by Free Speech TV and your opportunity to give to Free Speech TV. A little geeky science for the day. More than 46,000 cancer cases in the United States might be prevented every year if all of us just did one simple thing: walk for 45 minutes a day. This is an amazing new study. They looked at the physical activity and cancer incidence and physical activity habits of nearly 600,000 American men and women in every state and the District of Columbia. And what they found, epidemiologically, statistically, was that 3% of all the common cancers in the United States are strongly linked to inactivity. So physical activity, they say, changes the immune system in ways that amplify the body's ability to fight cancer. And exercise, for example, ramps up the activity of certain immune cells known to target cancer cells. So get out there, get active, right? Like I say at the end of the show every day, tag, you're it. This was, by the way, published in Medicine and Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it was published by researchers in the American Cancer Society and Emory University Medical School in Atlanta. So that's your Geeky Science for the day, brought to you by Free Speech TV, which is asking you right now to call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution for the day. Become part of Free Speech TV, become part of this really cool television network, and help us move forward. Help us keep this network on the air and help us grow and strengthen this network. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's been 2 years now, or nearly 2 years that, March 7th was the last time I traveled and came back here. And so it's been a while since I've seen anybody in person, and I'm looking forward to ending this pandemic. Thus, my call last Friday for us to say people who are not vaccinated need to get vaccinated. Let's just leave it at that without getting too contentious. But step by step. But here we have Free Speech TV, an extraordinary television network, some really great programs on it. Every program on the network gets a small slice of what you donate when you donate it during the time that program is on the air. This is one of the ways that a lot of these programs actually exist, and so and it helps ours as well. So please know that and make your contribution to Free Speech TV, whatever you can afford. 877-378-8669. Monthly contributions, even small ones, are really good too. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course,
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
well, it's a beautiful rainy morning in Portland, Oregon. Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. We've got a lot coming up on the program today. As I discussed several times in the last couple of weeks, I keep intending to write an op-ed about how The Democratic Party really needs to brand itself as the Freedom Party. I did that yesterday and published it this morning over at HartmannReport.com. We'll get into that in just a moment. Dr. Eric Feigelding, in fact, I would add, by the way, for Americans, freedom is not only a sacred right and duty, but it's also the ultimate political marketing tool, and it's past time for Democrats to take it back and claim it as their own, number one. Number two, at the bottom of this hour, in about 25 minutes, Dr. Eric Feigelding is going to drop by with the latest information on Omicron, the future of Omicron or Omicron and America. Erica Ferenstein, MA, is going to be with us in the second hour about California and their effort to pass single-payer health care. This is getting interesting. And also, why is Biden getting more negative coverage than Trump right now? Even on NPR. It's an amazing story. I'll share that with you in our second hour. It's actually, frankly, a shocking story. And in our third hour, Trump's Pentagon lied and people died on January 6th. And the lies are continuing, and it looks like one of the major sources of them is, surprise, surprise, General Flynn, not Michael Flynn, his brother, Charles Flynn. And we have a crazy alert, the Anti-Vax Chronicles from the Daily Kos. Joe Biden is dead and played by an actor, and nurses are actually deadly witches. Yes, that's going around Facebook right now. So that'll be in our third hour. So we've got a lot to get to. I want to start with my op-ed today that I published over at HartmannReport.com, however. It's titled, Democrats Must Reclaim Their Brand as the Freedom Party. There was a time in this country when the Democratic Party was branded as the Freedom Party. They called themselves that, the Party of Freedom. Franklin Roosevelt said in his 1944 State of the Union address, necessitous men are not free men. And what did he mean by that? Well, it's pretty straightforward. If you're hungry and you don't have access to food, you're not free. If you can't afford decent housing and therefore don't have a safe place to live, you're not free. If you're out of work and can't support yourself or your family, you're not free. If you're sick and you can't afford medical treatment, you're not free. If you live in fear of right-wing violence or terrorism because of your religion or the color of your skin, you're not free. And if you have the inherent capability to become a scientist or a union electrician, but you can't afford college or trade school to reach your potential, you are not free. As FDR said in the next sentence of that speech, he said, people who are hungry, people who are out of a job, are the stuff of which dictatorships are made. It's time for the Democratic Party to start messaging like Franklin Roosevelt did. For 2 generations now, Republicans have been telling us, since Reagan, basically, since 1980, they have been telling us that things aren't getting bad because of Reagan cutting taxes on rich people, so all the money's going to the top. No, that's not why things are getting bad for the American middle class. In fact, the Republicans are messaging specifically to white middle-class Americans. And so they're saying, well, things aren't getting bad for the white middle class because Reagan cut taxes at the top. Things aren't getting bad for the white middle class because Reagan started the whole free trade thing, sending our jobs overseas. No. It's because of the great replacement theory that Tucker Carlson will tell you all about on Fox so-called news, that the Democrats are trying to replace white people with brown people and black people who are going to take those good jobs. Right. When FDR came into the White House in 1933, there was the wreckage of the Republican Great Depression. And yes, that's what they called it up until 1952 when Dwight Eisenhower got elected president. They called it the Republican Great Depression. And so FDR began rebranding the Democratic Party as the Party of Freedom. When he accepted his party's nomination in Philadelphia in 1936 for his second term, he said that very word freedom in itself and of necessity suggests freedom from some restraining power. It was to win freedom from the tyranny of political autocracy that the American Revolution was fought. But, he says, since that struggle, however, man's inventive genius released new forces in our land, which reordered the lives of our people. And he talks about how this all created a new problem for those who sought to remain free. What was that? Big business. For out of this modern civilization, Franklin Roosevelt said, economic royalists carved new dynasties. New kingdoms were built upon concentration of control over material things. Through new uses of corporations, banks, and securities, new machinery of industry and agriculture, of labor and capital, the whole structure of modern life was impressed into this royal service. And then he takes it back to freedom. He says, throughout the nation, opportunity was limited by monopoly. Individual initiative was crushed in the cogs of a great machine. The field open for free business was more and more restricted. Private enterprise indeed became too private. It became privileged enterprise, not free enterprise. Are you noticing a theme here? Freedom. This is what the Democratic Party was all about in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. LBJ, we're going to give people the freedom to vote, the freedom to live free of discrimination. Franklin Roosevelt went on to say, liberty requires opportunity to make a living decent according to the standard of time, a living which gives a person not only enough to live by, but something to live for. And then he talks about, he continues in the next sentence, for too many of us, the political equality we had once won was meaningless in the face of economic inequality. A small group had concentrated into their own hands and almost complete control over other people's property, other people's money, other people's labor, other people's lives. For too many of us, life was no longer free. There's that word again. Liberty, no longer real. Men could no longer follow the pursuit of happiness. Thus, he said, today, we stand committed to the proposition that freedom is no half and half affair. I don't know if you caught it yesterday. Nikki Haley was tweeting about how Democrats are now the socialist party. Right. Well, they said the same thing about FDR. They called him a communist. They called him a socialist. They called him a tyrant. And what did he say? He threw it right back in their face. He said, these economic royalists complain that we seek to overthrow the institutions of America. What they really complain about is that we seek to take away their power. And our allegiance to American institutions requires the overthrow of this kind of power. In vain, Franklin Roosevelt said, they seek to hide behind the flag and the Constitution. In their blindness, they forget what the flag and the Constitution stand for. Now, as always, they stand for democracy, not tyranny, for freedom. There's that word again, not subjection, and against a dictatorship by mob rule and the overprivileged alike. So then they started calling him a bleeding heart liberal. Oh, you just want to help the poor little people. And he replied. He said, we do not see faith, hope, and charity as unattainable ideals, but we use them as stout supports of a nation fighting the fight for freedom in a modern civilization. So what do we have now? Build Back Better. This is how the Democratic Party needs to brand itself, as the party of freedom. Build Back Better enhances the freedom of working class Americans by providing a floor through which they won't fall as they strive for economic success. Ending or changing the filibuster to put voting rights into place ensures democracy, the essential bulwark of freedom, to citizens of every state, even those that Republicans are trying to turn into right-wing oligarchies. Canceling student debt and providing low-cost health care to all Americans frees young people from crushing financial burdens that are not experienced by the citizens of any other developed country in the world. And vaccine and mask mandates slow, or even when they're fully implemented, stop the spread of the COVID pandemic. By the way, they're seeing this in China right now, where they've actually stopped it through most of the country. And thus are an explicit part of a freedom agenda. I get it. China's not free, but hey, the freedom to take your kid to school, the freedom to go to a restaurant or theater, the freedom to shop for groceries without fear of death and disease. Now, there are, of course, some corporate Democrats out there who are saying, oh, no, we don't want to do these things. We don't want Build Back Better. No, we don't want to end the filibuster. We don't want to cancel student debt. We don't want to provide health care to all. Oh, no, we can't do that. That would blow up the budget deficit or some other nonsense. We call them today the corporate problem solver Democrats. FDR in 1940, there was a faction of Democrats who wanted him to dump Henry Wallace as his VP. And he wrote a letter to them. He said, in the century in which we live, the Democratic Party has received the support of the electorate only when the party, with absolute clarity, has been the champion of progressive and liberal policies and principles of government. This party has failed consistently when, through political trading and chicanery, it has fallen into the control of those interests, personal and financial, which think in terms of dollars instead of in terms of human values. And then he just laid it out for his party. He said, basically, you get rid of Henry Wallace, you're getting rid of me. He said, until the Democratic Party, through this convention, makes overwhelmingly clear its stand in favor of social progress and liberalism, and shakes off all the shackles of control fastened upon it by the forces of conservatism, reaction, and appeasement, it will not continue its march to victory. It is best not to straddle ideals, Franklin Roosevelt wrote to his party leaders. It is best for America to have the fight out here and now. The party must go wholly one way or the other. It cannot face in both directions at the same time. And this is what the Democratic Party needs to do. Right now, everything the Democratic Party is promoting, I defy you to identify one thing that couldn't be rebranded as freedom. People say, you need to get it on a bumper sticker. Here you are. Democrats, the Freedom Party. Build Back Better gives you freedom. Infrastructure gives you freedom. Ending student loans gives you freedom. Ending medical debt gives you freedom. A good minimum wage gives you freedom. The Democratic Party needs to reclaim that word. It's the most powerful branding device in America. Take it, Democrats. Please. And let's all start talking about freedom and how the Biden agenda, the progressive agenda, the Democratic agenda, outside of a few outliers within the party, yeah, I know about Manchin and Sinema, outside of them, our party is about freedom.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back in just a moment. Stick around. 18 minutes past the hour, excuse me. And welcome back. Oh, my goodness. Let's pick up some phone calls here. Israel in Chandler, Arizona. Hey, Israel, what's up?
Good morning, Tom. I'm sorry if I'm out of topic for today. Tried to call on Friday, but I have an idea about the Mississippi abortion case. I think there are 4 justices on the court that are not only willing to vote to overturn Roe, but they're willing to vote to make abortion unconstitutional based on the taking of human life without due process. And those 4, all they need to do is convince one other conservative, which I think is Neil Gorsuch, who's sort of a libertarian. I don't think Roberts would go because he knows that kind of decision will destroy his court in history. Not that it isn't there already.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And right, and the possible option or the possible outcome that could come from that is 4 that vote for making it unconstitutional. Roberts and Gorsuch, who say let's just overturn Roe and return it to the states, and the 3 liberals who say no. We maintain the status of Roe and Casey. And in that case, the court would be, the non-decision, no majority decision. It would return to the status quo of the appellate court, which was ruling that Roe and Casey still stand. And I think that's a real possibility with the 4 justices.
So let me get this straight. I was following your logic, Israel, completely when you said that there are 4 justices who would argue that any kind of abortion in the United States is essentially murder and therefore a violation of the right to life, and
exactly.
And due process, and that fetuses aren't getting due process. I get that, and I realize that there's a substantial minority of Americans who feel that way as well. But what I don't get is how you got from that to saying that therefore the Supreme Court in June is not going to strike down Roe v. Wade.
Well, because I don't think that the 4 of them, and that would be Alito, Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Thomas, I don't think the 4 of them could convince either Gorsuch or Roberts to join them. Roberts would try to join.
Oh no,
them
but that's like with Citizens United. That's like taking the argument a step farther. I don't think they're going to take the argument a step farther. I think they're simply going to say, Roe v. Wade set up what we consider to be arbitrary, and Casey set up what we consider to be arbitrary, the three trimester things, and we're going to set that aside. We're going to leave the rest of the ruling in place, and we're going to leave it up to the individual states. I think is going to be the Solomonic split the baby down the middle thing. And that's what John Roberts was pitching.
Argument. Yeah, I agree. I just don't think that those four justices, I think they're already thinking we're powerful enough. This is the moment in history. We can just say abortion is unconstitutional because it's the taking of human life. And they may want to stand their ground. I'm saying it's...
I don't think they will. I think they see this as the first step toward that. If they can take down Roe with this and allow states to create individual, whatever they want in the states, you're going to have some states. I mean, you've got several Republican-controlled states that have already introduced legislation. Texas, for example, that bans essentially all abortion, including rape and incest and everything else. And then that goes to the Supreme Court again. And at that point, maybe we have that discussion. But I don't think it's going to get quite that bad quite this fast, but I do think it's going to get really bad really fast. Israel, thank you for the call. We'll be right back. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. Back in 2019, a consortium of 37 nutritionists, psychologists, and other experts from 16 countries put together a study group and then issued a report. This is called the Eat Lancet Commission on Food, Planet, and Health, Lancet being the British medical journal. And what they found was that if we changed our diets worldwide, we could easily, or it would more easily, help us hit the planetary goal of raising the temperature of the planet by only 1.5 degrees, because meat production is such a large contributor to our greenhouse gases. They also noted a large portion of the emissions in the food system, 30 to 50%, come from the livestock supply chain. But here's the real kicker. They're suggesting basically that people should only eat basically once a week. And they said that just this one dietary change would save 11 million people every year in this country just because they'd be eating better. You can check it out at ThomHartmann.com. There's a whole video on it. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Sean in Albion, Washington. Hey, Sean, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, I really enjoyed hearing your encapsulating of your opening rant this morning, because I've been saying this for ages. Republicans have taken on all this association with America and claimed it to the point that Democrats and progressives stand aside and allow them to say these things that claim that they love America, they love family, they're the party of faith. And everything they say is rubbish. It's all just lip service. And they don't ever back anything up with, any points. But we don't have to do that either, because all you have to do is say it. In fact, your listeners can just start it this very day, anytime they talk. I'm a Democrat because I believe in freedom. I'm a liberal because I believe in freedom. I'm a progressive because that's the American way. And one of the things Republicans, all they really offer anytime to counter Democrats is we can't. And I've just started saying that you say we can't because you don't have faith in America. You don't think America can.
I love it, Sean.
And this is what they have done this for ages. They have turned it around. They have made a weapon out of it, to the point that, this drives me crazy that Americans are afraid of putting out the flag because they think that's going to send the wrong message. And it's like, no, that is not their flag. It is the flag of our country. And it's like, we need to just grab these things and also make all these claims, because their claims for it are just shallow. There's a thin veneer of nonsense, and you don't even have to make talking points with people. Like I said, just slogans, just say it. And the Democratic Party definitely should be doing this.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's going on up there. Maybe, hopefully, it's there. But like I said just now, your listeners can be doing this now. You just started this very day.
I agree, Sean. I absolutely agree, and brilliantly said. Thank you very much. Mario in Berwyn, Illinois. Hey, Mario, got just about a minute to the break. You got a quick one?
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. I just want to tell everybody that listen, or Democratic heads, to get involved because I was in a household that speaks Spanish the other day, and they were so bad informed with such a bad information receiving from these bigots, from these Republicans. They have to get involved and talk to people that speak Spanish because it's getting bad.
Is this because of right-wingers on Spanish language radio?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I start to talk to them, and it is hard. It is hard when they're receiving that information. And like Bernie and all our Democratic heads, they have to put attention. They have to do something about it.
Yeah.
Get in programs.
I agree. You've got several hundred Spanish language right-wing radio stations in America right now. And Democrats are sitting around, there's a piece in Politico a couple months ago. Democrats are trying to figure out why 7% more Latinos were voted for Trump, in 2020 than in 2016. It's because of the damn radio. Mario, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll be right back with Dr. Eric Feigelding.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
We're going to do a quick deep dive into Omicron and the whole coronavirus thing with Dr. Feigelding right after this. Stick around, and then I'll be back to your calls. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With a $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With or the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's the second week of our pledge drive, our winter pledge drive, and we're asking you once again to call 877-378-8669 and make a contribution to Free Speech TV. You can also text FSTV to 44-321, which is easy to remember, 44321, right? Just 2 4s, 321. But text FSTV, like Free Speech TV, to 44321, or 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. It has been suggested to me that perhaps by going on for a whole 6 minutes in this pitch every half hour, that I'm giving people an opportunity to run to the bathroom or putting them to sleep. So I wanted to bring you some information in the middle of this pitch. This brought to you by Free Speech TV and your opportunity to give to Free Speech TV. A little geeky science for the day. More than 46,000 cancer cases in the United States might be prevented every year if all of us just did one simple thing. Walk for 45 minutes a day. This is an amazing new study. They looked at the physical activity and cancer incidence and physical activity habits of nearly 600,000 American men and women in every state and the District of Columbia. And what they found, epidemiologically, statistically, was that 3% of all the common cancers in the United States are strongly linked to inactivity. So physical activity, they say, changes the immune system in ways that amplify the body's ability to fight cancer. And exercise, for example, ramps up the activity of certain immune cells known to target cancer cells. So get out there, get active, right? Like I say at the end of the show every day, tag, you're it. This was, by the way, published in Medicine and Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it was published by researchers in the American Cancer Society and Emory University Medical School in Atlanta. So That's your Geeky Science for the Day, brought to you by Free Speech TV, which is asking you right now to call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution for the day. Become part of Free Speech TV, become part of this really cool television network, and help us move forward. Help us keep this network on the air and help us grow and strengthen this network. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's been 2 years now, or nearly 2 years that, March 7th was the last time I traveled and came back here. And so it's been a while since I've seen anybody in person, and I'm looking forward to ending this pandemic. Thus, my call last Friday for us to say people who are not vaccinated need to get vaccinated. Let's just leave it at that without getting too contentious. But step by step. But here we have Free Speech TV, an extraordinary television network, some really great programs on it. Every program on the network gets a small slice of what you donate when you donate it during the time that program is on the air. This is one of the ways that a lot of these programs actually exist, and so it helps ours as well. So please know that and make your contribution to Free Speech TV, whatever you can afford. 877-378-8669. Monthly contributions, even small ones, are really good too. Our 1 hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3 hour podcast available over at thomhartmann.com if you want to really support our program. Welcome back. 34 minutes past the hour. On the line with us is the first whistleblower on the COVID pandemic way back last year, the epidemiologist and senior fellow with the Federation of American Scientists, Dr. Eric Feigelding, formerly a faculty member and researcher at the Harvard Medical School and Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Dr. Eric Ding, D-R-E-R-I-C-D-I-N-G is his Twitter handle. And if you're not following him on Twitter, you need to get over there. Dr. Feigelding, welcome back to the program. Number one, what's the latest that we know about Omicron or Omicron, and how do you pronounce it?
Thanks. I think it's the Omicron, and I think right now the data is still early, but there's a lot of signs that not only cases are rising much, much faster than any other previous wave in South Africa. It's literally shooting through any of the previous curves. But it's also, hospitalizations are also rising, and rising fast. Like, for example, just last week on Friday, we knew that cases in 2 weeks have increased tenfold. So 10x increase in hospitalizations from the 2 weeks prior.
Is that 1,000% if I'm doing my math right?
Yeah, 1,000% compared to what was 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And that was because originally it was 3x, and then because of backfilling of hospitalizations, it went up 10x. So the hospitalizations are surging too. Now the question is, well, some people say, well, it's milder. The hospitalization is surging less steeply than the cases, but we have to think that South Africa is now more vaccinated than its previous waves. South Africa is younger than the U.S. in many ways, and so it's most young people who are being infected, most infected, and most hospitalized because they're less vaccinated. So in many ways, the proponents who say it's milder are ignoring the fact that it's younger people. So yes, it's compared to the U.S., the hospitalization rate is lower because it was younger cases. And now it's also more vaccinated. And the other thing that they point out, deaths have not risen yet, but deaths usually lag by several more weeks. So we still have yet to figure that out. And of course, with the Omicron, we think that there is some sort of evasiveness against vaccines to some degree that allows it to spread faster. So we have to still be very vigilant.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, 2-3 weeks before we really start seeing in the United States Omicron cases going from diagnosis to hospital to death, and start being able to actually do those calculations and figure out what percentage of those people were vaccinated and how much, or not at all, or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so right now the epicenter still clearly is South Africa, Gauteng province, which includes Johannesburg, Pretoria, and whatnot. But it is spreading worldwide. It is in dozens of countries now worldwide. And we know, of course, the travel bans have been very frustrating. But I think in certain ways, it's not the travel bans we need. We need border entry testing that U.S. still has not instituted yet. U.S. has shortened, for example, the pre-flight testing from 3 days to 1 day, but we need border entry testing critically and repeat testing, because that's how you catch these cases.
What other countries are doing that?
Well, Hong Kong is doing that. A lot of the Asian countries do that. Australia and New Zealand are doing that, and they're adding border quarantine as well. But for Europe, for the most part, doesn't do that. And U.S., of course, doesn't do that either. And that's, in certain ways, it's so leaky. You have to have arrival testing. Because if you don't have arrival testing, you have, like, for example, Norway, the Christmas party. There was 100 people at the Christmas party. The vast majority, like 70 people, got infected at the Christmas party. And everyone had tested negative and were vaccinated before that. But obviously, they didn't test positive until several days later. One of them had South Africa travel and brought it there. So if you didn't have this repeat testing and quarantine, you wouldn't be able to stop these kind of outbreaks. And of course, they were all tested and vaccinated, which shows that we need to repeat test and that we need boosters. We think boosters will help, but we are not sure in terms of the exact efficacy of 2 shots. Many scientists are saying it's much, much lower than before. We don't have the exact number yet, but they're pretty certain that the efficacy against infection is much lower than before. Hospitalization will hopefully still hold up okay, but that's why we really need boosters.
We've got a dozen or so of the rapid test kits floating around the office here. I was buying them back when they were available on Amazon. And excuse me, no, I don't have COVID. I just inhaled some saliva. And I've been thinking of them as, well, let me set this up. The PCR tests, the official tests, the fancy tests you go to a testing center or a hospital for, by the DNA, and they actually test for the presence of the virus. These home tests are antigen tests. In other words, they're looking for proteins that your body produces as part of its effort to fight off this virus that are specific to this virus. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of that. Do I have that right so far?
Not exactly. So the rapid antigen tests for, it's an antigen that tests for proteins on the virus. So it tests for for example, the nucleocapsid protein of the virus. So it's actually testing for live virus.
Oh, interesting.
The PCR tests for the RNA genetic material of the virus. But that can also include the genetic material from a dead virus, too. So after a virus has already been killed off and then you have fragments, the fragments can still test positive. People were very frustrated for the longest time. So it's so in certain ways, PCR can test for lower amounts, but it also tests for dead virus.
Yeah, well, where I was going with that.
Rapid antigen specifically tests for live virus. You can't test positive until live infectious virus.
Yeah, where I was going with that is I've been thinking of these as the PCR test being, are you infected or have you been recently infected or whatever, super gold standard test. But that the rapid tests that you can buy in the drugstore or online, that those rapid tests really, if you wanted to narrow it, you could say most accurately will definitely give you a positive signal if you are contagious, if you have the disease to the point where you're starting to actually produce viruses and expel them. Is that a reasonable way to think of them?
Yes, I think it's mostly reasonable the way to think of them. Yes, the PCR is kind of like more bigger net, but it also catches more non-infectious, while the rapid antigen catches definitely the big virus fishes, but occasionally it can also miss a few cases of lower viral load.
Right, which would be early infection.
Between.
Yeah.
But between what I prefer is, would you, if you're trying to drop sonar buoys to find a hidden enemy submarine, do you want to drop it every 10 miles or and try to find it, or do you want to drop it every mile, every kilometer, and be able to find it, 85, 90% of the time? I would rather drop my sonar buoy every mile to try to find it. That's greater chance.
Which is the home tests, right?
Yeah, which is the home rapid test.
So what does this tell us about Christmas? I mean, should we? I've got enough, COVID tests at home that if I invite family or friends over for Christmas, I could ask everybody to just, sit in the bathroom for 15 minutes and test yourself. Or is that, over the top hysteria?
I don't think it's over the top. I think it's very precautious. I think it depends. Is everyone boosted? Because we know that with vaccine waning, that a booster really, really helps. So we're increasing in protection against infection and hospitalization back into the 90s. Or else without a booster, your waning has, after 6 months, can easily wane to 60%, 50% efficacy against infection. And hospitalization can wane to the mid-80s to low 80s. But with a booster, you get both numbers back into the 90s. And that's why it's so critical. And then if everyone's boosted, like everyone in my family is, and then the testing, it's still precautious and you should do it. But if you're not boosted, testing definitely is very, very critical.
Right.
And I would have them test the day before and upon arrival at the party, because some people's tests could be like a day or two old.
I know some folks in Hollywood who just do this. I mean, they've got a part of their house where people have to go and sit and wait while their 15-minute test is processed, and they've been doing it for 6 months or more. We're running really tight on time here. I'm curious. Two last questions. Number one, what do you think of Mayor de Blasio's vaccine mandate for all businesses in New York City? And number two, when should we expect these pills to come onto the marketplace that might help people early on in a COVID infection?
So I think the vaccine mandate is good. My actual concern and the criticism these days is that these fully vaccinated should be defined as 3 shots, not just 2.
Right.
2 shots is not enough in the face of Omicron and also vaccine waning. 3 shots triples your antibody levels. It's really critical that you get the booster. Please, everyone, get a booster. And I think, going forward, you really, really need to be vigilant against Omicron. I cannot stress enough. And I think that for Christmas, if you're not protected with 3 shots, please, you should not consider yourself fully protected as Omicron is growing.
Right. And when do you expect the antiviral pills will become available?
Well, I don't think the drugs are that important. Like the monopiravir, by the way, the efficacy is only 30% instead of 50%. Mm-hmm. And there's also concern about whether they cause cancer because they're mutagenic. Their function is to cause cancer and mutations. And there's hot debate about, and I think, these treatment drugs will prevent you from going to the hospital to some degree, 30% low risk, but they're not like 80, 90% as effective as vaccines. And again, they carry some cancer risk and they're expensive. And so even if they're coming out soon, the Merck one, I do not think it's going to be able to slow down the pandemic per se.
Right. But the monoclonal antibodies are still first line if somebody gets an infection.
Yes, for now. Yes.
Yeah,
But
okay.
in face of Omicron, we actually don't have efficacy for that.
There you go. Dr. Eric Feigelding, if you're not following him on Twitter, get over there and check it out. DR, as in doctor, ERICDING is his Twitter handle. Dr. Feigelding, thanks so much for dropping by.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with your calls and the news of the day right after this. And welcome back. Robert in Omaha, Nebraska. Hey, Robert, what's on your mind today?
Yes. So, you know how when Democrats propose stuff that's popular, the Republicans don't like it, but then when a Republican proposes the same thing, all of a sudden they're on board with it? So my question is, if someone ran as a Republican, but then started proposing everything that Democrats wanted, like, so would that work, or
worked for Donald Trump, Robert? Donald Trump ran on a platform of raising taxes on rich people, giving everybody in the country health care at a price way below Obamacare and far more comprehensive, ending Reagan's policy of free trade that has been picked up by both parties, you know, to be fair, but nonetheless ending free trade and bringing our jobs back home. You know, strengthening union protections. I mean, he didn't do any of these things, but this is what he ran on. He basically ran on a Democratic platform. He'd been a Democrat up until 3 months before he ran for president, so he understood the Democratic platform.
Sorry. Well, I don't mean just saying it, but I mean actually doing it. Like, if they did those things and not just ran on them, like, how long would they be able to get away with it before their party started wising up to the fact that maybe this person's not really a Republican like we thought he was?
I think that as the number one, the Republican Party has split into two factions. There's the Trump faction, and then there's the kind of old-fashioned Republican, you know, Richard Nixon referred to them as cloth coat Republicans. That's what he called his wife. You know, she doesn't wear a fur; she wears a cloth coat. Kind of Main Street Republicans, the average conservative, largely suburban white people, basically was the pitch. And my guess is that as time goes on, you're going to see these the old Republicans, the David Jollies, you know, who's on MSNBC all the time, who was a member of, you know, a Republican member of Congress. Yeah, you're going to see those Republicans start to embrace many of the very popular policies that Democrats have been promoting as a way of trying to claw the Republican Party back from the crazies. And I think we're already seeing some evidence of that. I suspect we're going to see a lot more evidence of that as time goes on.
Oh, okay. So you don't think it'll work, or you think it can work?
I think it will work. I think that Americans will vote for a politician who tells them that they are going to do the things that are highly popular, you know, across the populace. Ending student debt is highly popular. Free college is very popular. Comprehensive health care is very popular. Raising taxes on rich people, his polls like over 90% in some, you know, depending on how you ask the question. There are a lot of policies that I think that you can probably expect Republicans to start adopting and perhaps even getting ahead of Democrats on. I mean, if Republicans can steal some of these issues from Democrats, this is what Reagan did with Social Security. He was like, I'm going to save Social Security for you. Now, he doubled the Social Security tax and he ended and he made Social Security benefits taxable. But, you know, he still positioned himself as the guy who saved Social Security. I suspect you're going to see more and more Republicans doing pretty much the same. They're going to argue that they're saving Medicare with Medicare Advantage, which is bizarre, but they're going to do it. Robert, I got to run, but thank you for the call. 10 minutes before the hour, I'll be back with more of your calls in just a moment. Stick around. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. So there's this group in Stockholm, Sweden. It's called the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance. They are, world famous. Every year they release, or periodically, they release a report called The Global State of Democracy. And they just released their 2021 version of this. And in this, they point out that the world is becoming more authoritarian, I'm quoting from their report, as non-democratic regimes become even more brazen in their repression, and many democratic governments suffer from backsliding by adopting their tactics of restricting free speech and weakening the rule of law. Now, who is backsliding? They go on to say, the United States is backsliding. The bastion of global democracy, the United States, fell victim to authoritarian tendencies itself and was knocked down a significant number of steps on the democratic scale. We are a backsliding nation. There's a whole video about this over at thomhartmann.com. Check it out. Fresh.com. And welcome back, Pat in Flossmoor, Illinois. Hey, Pat, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I'm a 68-year-old African-American former school librarian, and I was going to mention your story about backsliding democracies in the U.S. But also, I wanted to mention I really enjoyed your earlier statement about the Freedom Party, but as a former educator / librarian, repetition is what people need over and over again.
You're right.
Same thing. Let's have 30-second commercials on the Hispanic, Black, and white rural stations. Short ones. Most people have no idea what Build Back Better has in it or what a filibuster carve-out is. The Freedom to Vote Act from John Lewis, etc. No clue. So let's tell them over and over again. 30 seconds, that's all your attention span is for some folks. And hopefully we'll have positive results.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I completely agree, Pat. And every part of the Democratic agenda right now, you can insert the word freedom into. I mean, there is no part of it, to the best of my knowledge, that can't not be positioned as freedom. And like I said, freedom is the most powerful brand in America. It has been since the founding of the Republic. And we need to get back to it. Thank you, Pat, for that. That was brilliant. Ari in Eureka, California. Hey, Ari, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I wanted to point out that the word liberal literally means free.
From liberty.
Yes, exactly.
That's brilliant. Do you know any more about the etymology of that word?
It's Latin. Mm-hmm. It comes from Latin. If you look at all the Latin languages, in French, liberté, it means free.
Yeah.
We're already the party of freedom.
That we just need to tell people that. They need to figure it out. All right, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that with us. Matt in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hey, Matt, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, it's been a long time since I called you. It's not on my mind, but it's funny because I just called in the Patriot channel like an hour ago. If anyone wants to hear that on the Sirius XM, they could see the ones earlier today. But I asked the guy who was just kept on fear-mongering about communism. And I'm thinking, is that what their tactic is right now? So I'm wondering if this guy could define it. I call in, I ask him, can you define what communism is? And he's going with this reaction, like hostile, and I'm laughing, and he just hangs up on me, and he's going, I know what communism is. They were founded in 1919, and I've been to a communist meeting. They're in New York. I'm laughing because the guy was ranting, but he never defined what the ideology to communism is. Right. And I'm wondering, do these guys think that we're that close to communism when we have a 20% tax rate on the highest income? We have the estate tax is basically gone, or the capital gains is basically gone. Like, they think we're that close to communism. Our health insurance, no one has health insurance anymore. I mean, it's just ridiculous, these guys. But really, I hope that you can ask the next time you have my congressman from Madison on. I forget his name. You always have
Mark Pocan?
Yeah, Pocan. Yeah, I'm hoping, because I can never get into the show when you have him on, and he's just right. About half an hour away from me, and that's the other district. I want to ask, how come we never subpoenaed the the interpreter when they're in Helsinki? How come they never subpoenaed that guy to ask him what they were talking about? Because
they may well have done that in one of the intelligence committees. Yeah, we would just never know about it. That's the kind of thing that never gets done publicly. I don't
know, because when they asked, when they asked the Secretary of State, what's his name? Forget his name, Pompeo. He got all defensive when they were asking him about that. Like he didn't even want to go there. Like, how dare you even imply? And I'm thinking, let's find out if that guy really wants to talk or something. Like, I know for a fact that guy was in with Putin, and Putin got great deals that they never talk about. He got out of the missile to short-range nuclear treaty. He got out of the air, the one where you can fly over and see everyone's military. He got out of that treaty. We got out of the treaty. He stayed in, so he can fly over our country. We can't fly over their country, right? I mean, he did a lot of things for Putin to help them, and he's going to try to do it again. So thank you, Tom, for listening to me.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Did you also see the story that Putin had an interpreter who was just this, gorgeous woman, dressed very provocatively, to just keep Donald Trump drooling through the whole thing rather than thinking. Putin knows how to play the game. Matt, thank you for the call. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More info at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleep and pain relief. More info is available at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Ground News, a well-rounded perspective for news readers. More info at ground.news/Tom. Angie, for any project on your to-do list. More info at Angie.com. Dinovite, a whole food supplement for your pet's immune system. More info at Dinovite.com. And ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom.
There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, well, it's the second week of our pledge drive, our winter pledge drive, and we're asking you once again to call 877-378-8669 and make a contribution to Free Speech TV. You can also text FSTV to 44-321, which is easy to remember, 44321, right? Just two fours, 321. but text FSTV, like Free Speech TV, to 44321, or 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. It has been suggested to me that perhaps by going on for a whole 6 minutes in this pitch every half hour, that I'm giving people an opportunity to run to the bathroom or putting them to sleep. So I wanted to bring you some information in the middle of this pitch. This brought to you by Free Speech TV and your opportunity to give to Free Speech TV. A little geeky science for the day. More than 46,000 cancer cases in the United States might be prevented every year if all of us just did one simple thing: walk for 45 minutes a day. This is an amazing new study. They looked at the physical activity and cancer incidence and physical activity habits of nearly 600,000 American men and women in every state and the District of Columbia. And what they found, epidemiologically, statistically, was that 3% of all the common cancers in the United States are strongly linked to inactivity. So physical activity, they say, changes the immune system in ways that amplify the body's ability to fight cancer. And exercise, for example, ramps up the activity of certain immune cells known to target cancer cells. So get out there, get active, right? Like I say at the end of the show every day, tag, you're it. This was, by the way, published in Medicine and Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it was published by researchers in the American Cancer Society and Emory University Medical School in Atlanta. So that's your geeky science for the day, brought to you by Free Speech TV, which is asking you right now to call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution for the day. Become part of Free Speech TV, become part of this really cool television network, and help us move forward. Help us keep this network on the air, and help us grow and strengthen this network. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare: Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity T-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's been 2 years now, or nearly 2 years, that March 7th was the last time I traveled and came back here. And so it's been a while since I've seen anybody in person, and I'm looking forward to ending this pandemic. Thus, my call last Friday for us to say people who are not vaccinated need to get vaccinated. Let's just leave it at that without getting too contentious. But step by step. But here we have Free Speech TV, an extraordinary television network, some really great programs on it. Every program on the network gets a small slice of what you donate when you donate it during the time that program is on the air. This is one of the ways that a lot of these programs actually exist, and so and it helps ours as well. So please know that and make your contribution to Free Speech TV, whatever you can afford. 877-378-8669. Monthly contributions, even small ones, are really good too.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. As I mentioned in the first hour, you're not free if you're sick and you can't get health care. Part of the Democratic Party's freedom agenda should be health care for all. And as I pointed out on this program many times, Canada got Medicare for all as a result of one province, Saskatchewan. Tommy Douglas, the premier of that province, saying, we're going to do it. And they did it. And then everybody else in Canada said, whoa, that's cool. You save money. Everybody gets covered. That's great. Let's do that. And it's spread across Canada. Well, if we could do that in a big state in the United States, like, say, California, can you imagine? Well, they're working on it. Erica Ferriston is with us. She is the director of Healthcare for All, the Los Angeles chapter. That's HCALA, or HCA, let's say, as in Healthcare for All, HCALA.org. Also, the national or the statewide organization is healthcareforall.org. Erica, welcome to the program. I understand that back in 2017, I remember when California was like on the verge of passing single-payer health care, and one person, your Speaker of the Assembly, your equivalent of the Speaker of the House, blew it up after taking some major contributions from big insurance companies. Correct me if I'm wrong in that memory, and where are you at right now with this, and do you think you'll be able to overcome that same kind of, so-called corporate Democrat objection?
Well, thank you, Tom, for having me on and helping to spread the word about this seventh attempt to get single-payer passed in California with AB 1400. You are absolutely correct. That bill was Senate Bill 562. It had passed the state Senate, and then Anthony Rendon, who was the Speaker of the Assembly, who's still the Speaker of the Assembly, he had taken a bunch of money from the medical industrial complex and killed the bill. But yeah, so you are correct in that. But we got right back up, and by we, I mean the California Nurses Association is leading the charge again with this bill, Assembly Bill 1400, the Guaranteed Health Care for All Act, affectionately known as CalCare. And we're super excited about this bill. This is the state-level version of Medicare for All. It would guarantee comprehensive, high-quality health care to every California resident, regardless of age, race, sex, gender ID, immigration status, employment status, marital status, you name it, income level, doesn't matter. Every California would receive health care as a human right, and it would lead the nation in the greater fight for health care justice.
I'm assuming this is not socialized medicine like they have in the United Kingdom, where the government owns the hospitals and employs the doctors, but rather is single-payer health care like pretty much every other developed country in the world has, like Canada has, among others. And that's, basically the state of California becomes the single payer. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Care would continue to be privately delivered as it is now, but it would be paid for through a single public program rather than the fragmented patchwork system we have now. Private insurance companies in California would no longer exist, and this would result in huge cost savings for individuals, businesses, local government, the state government, and guarantee high-quality health care for every California resident. So that's right. You got it exactly right.
So for people who live in California, or people who are anywhere in the country and are going to become activists and try to make their state, follow your lead, with regard to CalCare, this program that you're promoting, what would be the deductibles? What would it cost people every month? What does it look like? How does it work? Do you have to, does the state determine what doctor you can go to? Play it out for me as a, in the example of, if you needed health care, what do you do? What does it cost? Where do you go? How do you handle it?
Like I stated earlier, everybody is covered, and there would be no upfront fees. So no deductibles, no co-pays, no out-of-network costs, no cost. You would get a card, probably like they have in France or similar to your insurance card, and you would go to any doctor in any area that you need. So it's free at the point of service. You would get a CalCare card. and you're free to choose your provider. You don't like your provider, go to another one. No more insurance companies delaying and denying our health care and interfering between us as the patients and our doctors.
Yeah, I'm already seeing, somebody posted on my Twitter feed this morning some new study from some right-wing think tank about how in Canada it takes 7 weeks to see a specialist. By the way, I just tried to make an appointment with a specialist. It took 2.5 months, but nonetheless, the war is beginning. What are the contours of the war in California? How has the health insurance? This is a multi-billion-dollar industry you're challenging, and you're the 6th largest economy in the world. How are they trying to take you on? And do you think that they'll be successful in again bribing Anthony Rendon, your Speaker of the Assembly?
Right. The war has begun before we had the bill. The war is always on. It's not just Anthony Rendon that's taking money. It's, you can look at our governors taking money. Pretty much every member of our California legislature has taken money. The author of the bill, Ash Kara and Alex Lee, they're the only 2 members of the California legislature I know of who haven't taken any corporate money. So if you want to look at it that way, yes, we're outspent. And this is why it's going to take people power. And Tom, we've seen this. We've seen this in Barbados. We've seen this in Honduras. We've seen it in our own country. When we fight, we win. And people power can win this, but we need millions of Californians to stand up and to demand that the legislature pass this bill.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. And so for people who want to either A, learn more about this so they can try it in their own state, or B, support your efforts in California, what should they do?
So we have several efforts. If you live in California, we have a pre-written letter that we would like you to send your assembly member. And we have January 8th, the California Nurses Association is holding a CalCare Day of Action. It's statewide. And if you're in California or outside of California, you can join CNA, the California Nurses Association, sponsored phone banks, postcard writing, and to find all this information, go to our toolkit, which is a bit.ly address, all lowercase, bit.ly/HCALA toolkit. Again, that's bit.ly, HCALA toolkit.
Okay, or hcla.org, right? We'll get you to the starting point where you can go from there.
Yes.
Erica Ferriston. Eric, thanks so much for dropping by. And Erica, excuse me. And good luck. I wish you the very best on this. This could be a turning point for the whole country if you guys are successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Great to have you on the program. We will be back with more of the news of the day and your calls in just a moment, 15 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Stick around.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Good News Monday, right? Coming up, why is Joe Biden getting more negative press coverage than Donald Trump did at this point in his presidency? And welcome back. Gary in Alpharetta, Georgia. Hey, Gary, what's up?
Hello, Tom. Thank you.
Hey,
Great against Bill Hart. America's greatest challenge.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Greed has no heart, America's greatest challenge.
Oh, yes. Amen.
Well, I made my, if you don't mind me saying, I made my contribution. Well, I made my to Free Speech TV today, and I'm hoping others say to others to make a small contribution. Anything to it's a wonderful endeavor.
Yeah, I agree, and thank you, Gary. Although it's probably better that we just keep that to my little commercials at the top and bottom of the hour.
Oh, all right.
So anyhow,
all right.
what's on your mind? What did you call about, Gary?
I never did that before. Okay, I will. I called actually for probably the first time in history since I've called to disagree with you.
Go for
I
it.
appreciate your thoughts about, and it's about you talking about how the Republican Party will slowly, the way you use the word slowly, I'll use it, come back to more traditional roots.
Oh, I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think that there's a faction within the party that's going to try and do that. I'm not sure they'll be successful. I think the majority of the party is probably going to go full fascist.
Okay, all right. Well, I think that's more realistic. I don't think in this cycle, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I want America prove us wrong. Get out there and get active and vote. I don't think in this cycle or the next cycle, and I'm going to tell you why. I think they have soured the culture so much with greed and being just plain mean-spirited. Just being plain mean-spirited with their thinking. And it's the sour, the bad apples in the barrel theory, if you will. We've always had some bad apples in the barrel, but I say proportionally in the barrel now, it's proportionally negative to moving forward. And until we can clear that out, until we can clean that out, we're in big trouble in America. This is a mean-spirited I have never witnessed in my history of my life, ever.
Yeah. And I thought things were pretty bad in the 60s or the early 70s when Nixon was coming after protesters and stuff. But
we had
Kent
a different
State,
culture.
I
think we had a different culture back there. We had more fundamental men and women back then. That's the difference. You understand what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. You don't understand that?
I don't know what fundamental men and women means.
All right, fundamental women, here's what it means. I mean, we had more of a gentleman, ladylike culture back then.
You mean people were more polite towards each other?
Yes, less mean-spiritedness. And today we have more greed and money proportionate to the population.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. And what it looks to me like is happening, Gary, is that bullying is infectious. And I remember from school when I was the subject of Dennis's bullying, that there were a couple of kids who would hang out with him just to be cool.
Right.
Hey,
But never like this.
Yeah, but
never like this.
Well, this is what Trump has done, and so the kids who want to follow in the wake of the bully are following along with Trump.
And what about that? And you got to go. What about that Kentucky congressman? That's the perfect example.
Oh yeah, and he's sitting there with a machine gun in his lap. I mean, the rest of his family's got assault weapons. He's got a damn machine gun. It was nuts. Gary, I got to run, but thank you for the call. It's 19 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. Stick around. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. On Friday, last Friday, the Labor Department announced 210,000 new jobs. Here's what's really interesting. Eric Bullard is calling this out. He's got a newsletter over at pressrun.media that is really worth subscribing to. It's free, and it's one of these Substack newsletters, and which dropped the unemployment rate from 4.6% to 4.2%. Now, back at the beginning of the year, the Congressional Budget Office predicted it was going to take 4 years. It would take until 2025 before unemployment got back down to 4.2%. We're there 3 years early. How is that not good news? Well, the headline on NPR was, quote, November hiring was a bust with only 210,000 jobs created. Honest to God. Whereas 4 years ago in January, or a little more than 4 years ago, in January of 2020, NPR, this is Donald Trump is president now after he was sworn in, the headline, and they had 225,000 jobs. Keep in mind, we just had 210,000. 225,000 new jobs, and the headline was, job market surges as employers add 266,000 jobs in November. It was actually, when it was adjusted, it turned out to be 225,000, but still 260. So when Trump gets 200,000 new jobs, it's called a surge in the job market. When Biden gets 200,000 new jobs, it is, quote, November hiring was a bust. Right. Michael Moore also has one of these Substack newsletters you can find at michaelmoore.com. And he's Stop Watching and Reading the Pundit Boobery is his current op-ed. And it's brilliant. I mean, he's basically pointing out, Biden's approval ratings are at a historic low. No, it says 52% of the people disapprove. Well, I'm telling you, if a pollster called me up and said, do you approve or disapprove of the job that the Biden administration is doing right now? I'd say, well, I approve with caveats. And Michael Moore points this out. We still don't have voting rights. Joe Biden has not gotten, voting rights through the Senate, and he has the power to lean on his people. We still haven't approved this human infrastructure bill, and to the extent that we might, it's been chopped down radically. We don't like the fact that, he hasn't succeeded in getting a vaccine mandate all across the country. So, I don't think this disapproval for Joe Biden has anything to do with right-wingers hating him. I think it's, people want more. He promised more. People want more. Here's another one that Michael Moore points out. He says, the country rejects Bernie, the Squad, democratic socialism, Black Lives Matter, and critical race theory. And then he says, no. He says the vast majority of this country agrees with everything that they are trying to get passed in Congress. And then goes through the polling. And this is where the polling is like, I do this, for years now I've been citing these polls. These are the most recent. 73% of Americans believe everyone should have paid family leave. 63% of Americans believe community college should be tuition free. 64% of Americans want stronger gun control laws. 75% of Americans want climate change addressed now. 62% of Americans believe the minimum wage should at least be $15 an hour. 84% of Americans believe Medicare should cover hearing aids, glasses, and dental. 67% of Americans believe children should have access to free pre-K. 67% of voters say that federal voting rights legislation is absolutely necessary. This is like, and yet these things are not getting passed. Why? Because the Supreme Court legalized the bribery of politicians. And the entire Republican Party has gone all in on this. Yes, we are here to take your bribes. Send us your money. And a few Democrats have. And you know who I'm talking about. I need not give them any more publicity, but this is just, straightforward stuff. The American people are down with the freedom agenda. People love the Democratic Party's freedom agenda, and yet it is not getting passed. And because it's not getting passed, I think that's the thing that's hurting Biden's approval ratings. And the third one that Michael Moore points out is that inflation is at an all-time high. No, it's not. And by the way, inflation was 3 times as intense as this after the end of World War II for the exact same reasons. Supply shortages and demand increase. Pent-up demand. We were rationing food and stuff. I mean, you had to get coupons to get butter back during World War II, or to buy nylons, or buy gasoline. So, of course, there was an explosion of demand in 1946, 47. And you had inflation pushing as high as 17%, if my recollection is correct. Now we've got maybe 5 or 6% inflation. It will go away. This is what happens when you have a supply shortage combined with a demand increase. It's very straightforward. And on top of that, of course, you got this Wall Street Journal headline. What does inflation mean for American business? For some, bigger profits. And this is the thing that that has been pointed out by numerous progressives, particularly Elizabeth Warren and Robert Reich. Robert Reich, one of the real, heroes of the movement, who also publishes a regular newsletter. I think more and more people are starting to get their opinions and news this way. But, Robert Reich was pointing out as well that the problem with inflation is monopoly. I wrote a damn book about this, The Hidden History of American Monopoly. This is, when you have every single major industry in America dominated by 3 or 4 companies, at the most 5, you no longer have competition. You no longer have that flywheel for prices. You no longer have an internal regulatory mechanism called competition. And when you don't have competition, you see corporate profits exploding. And that's what's happening right now. The Wall Street Journal, the subhead, nearly 2 out of 3 of the U.S. biggest publicly traded companies reported fatter profit margins than they did before the pandemic. So they're charging more because they can get away with it. Anyhow, I'm so disgusted by this double standard of reporting on Joe Biden and the Democrats that we see across the corporate-owned media. It's awful.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And when you hear these kinds of things on the media, I hope you're doing what I'm doing, which is going to their contact me pages and sending them nasty grams. Hey, wake up, guys. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, well, it's the second week of our pledge drive, our winter pledge drive, and we're asking you once again to call 877-378-8669 and make a contribution to Free Speech TV. You can also text FSTV to 44-321, which is easy to remember, 44321, right? Just 2 4s, 321. But text FSTV, like Free Speech TV, to 44321, or 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. It has been suggested to me that perhaps by going on for a whole 6 minutes in this pitch every half hour, that I'm giving people an opportunity to run to the bathroom or putting them to sleep. So I wanted to bring you some information in the middle of this pitch. This brought to you by Free Speech TV and your opportunity to give to Free Speech TV. A little geeky science for the day. More than 46,000 cancer cases in the United States might be prevented every year if all of us just did one simple thing. Walk for 45 minutes a day. This is an amazing new study. They looked at the physical activity and cancer incidence and physical activity habits of nearly 600,000 American men and women in every state and the District of Columbia. And what they found, epidemiologically, statistically, was that 3% of all the common cancers in the United States are strongly linked to inactivity. So physical activity, they say, changes the immune system in ways that amplify the body's ability to fight cancer. And exercise, for example, ramps up the activity of certain immune cells known to target cancer cells. So get out there, get active, right? Like I say at the end of the show every day, tag, you're it. This was, by the way, published in Medicine and Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it was published by researchers in the American Cancer Society and Emory University Medical School in Atlanta. So that's your Geeky Science for the day, brought to you by Free Speech TV, which is asking you right now to call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution for the day. Become part of Free Speech TV, become part of this really cool television network, and help us move forward. Help us keep this network on the air and help us grow and strengthen this network. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's been 2 years now, right? Nearly 2 years that, March 7th was the last time I traveled and came back here. And so it's been a while since I've seen anybody in person, and I'm looking forward to ending this pandemic. Thus, my call last Friday for us to say people who are not vaccinated need to get vaccinated. Let's just leave it at that without getting too contentious. But step by step. But here we have Free Speech TV, an extraordinary television network, some really great programs on it. Every program on the network gets a small slice of what you donate when you donate it during the time that program is on the air. This is one of the ways that a lot of these programs actually exist, and so and it helps ours as well. So please know that and make your contribution to Free Speech TV, whatever you can afford. 877-378-8669. Monthly contributions, even small ones, are really good too. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. Back in the 2020 election, there were three issues actually that polled higher than President Biden did and Democrats in general. And one of those issues was the legalization of marijuana nationwide, not just the decriminalization, but the legalization. Doing away with marijuana on the schedule of narcotics, making it so that marijuana pharmacies and dispensaries could bank with a normal bank, all that kind of thing. This was so popular that a Republican now is getting ahead of this. Democrats, we are falling behind, right? This was more popular than Joe Biden. Democrats need to jump on this. Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina, has just introduced the States Reform Act, which repeals federal prohibition of marijuana, expunges federal nonviolent marijuana crimes, and promotes local ownership. We've got a video about this over at thomhartmann.com. You need to check it out. And welcome back. Picking up your phone calls here. And let's see, Tucker in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Hey, Tucker, what's on your mind today?
Hey, John. Thanks for taking my call. Sure. And thank you, Erica, for what she's doing in California. My 31-year-old daughter just moved out there a couple of years ago.
Very cool.
But I want to talk about victims of Fox News. Okay. I just lost one of my longest and best friends, oldest and best friends, to COVID because he fell victim of Fox News and propaganda.
Oh, no.
And for the last couple of years, we've been arguing since Trump took office about politics, but then COVID. And he just kept saying it's a hoax. It's a hoax. And I'm like, no. And I told him, I said, with your health issues, if you get COVID, you're going to die. And I really wish I was wrong, but we just lost him on Saturday.
Wow.
He was in the hospital, and no one told me, I think because of politics, and I didn't find out till the night before he passed. And up until then, his wife was saying, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. Of course, she's getting vaccinated now, but it's too late. And I just feel so bad because these people are victims of Fox News and propaganda.
Yeah.
I went through Messenger to all the propaganda he sent me. There's almost a dozen, and of course my rebuttal, and I quoted you many times, I'm sure. And he just wouldn't listen, no matter what I said. And we've been friends our entire lives, and it's a horrible loss, and it's senseless.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Tucker. And here's the thing that has me baffled. There's a guy named Charles Gaba who's a number cruncher guy, and he's been doing on the internet. He's been keeping track of COVID deaths and where they're happening. And to really get the clearest case, he's taken the 10% of the reddest counties in America. Okay, the 10% of the heaviest vote for Trump, and the 10% of the bluest counties in America, where Biden got the highest percentage. And you just compare the death rates, the COVID death rates in those two kinds of counties, it's a 600% difference. You are 6 times more likely to die of COVID in the 10% of counties that are the reddest than you are in the 10% of the counties that are bluest. And what I can't figure out, and maybe you have some insight into this from talking to your friend Tucker, is why is it that the Republican leadership, why is it that the people who are running the Republican Party, why is it that the billionaires who own Fox News and who fund many of these right-wing media outfits and who own the big radio networks that they, thousands of radio stations spewing right wings, and the multimillionaires who are on these networks, the Tucker Carlson's, he may even be a billionaire. He's the heir to the Swanson Foods fortune. But why is it that they are promoting an idea that is killing their own people, their own voters? I don't understand it.
I wish I could answer that. I don't know. They're killing their own supporters, their own viewers. And when I talked to my friend's son, the nurse in the ICU said there is not one person in there with COVID that was vaccinated. Everyone in the ICU with COVID was non-vaccinated.
That's
Everyone
what I'm hearing from my kids who
vaccinated.
work at OHSU at the hospital here in town too. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's, occasionally there's one who slips through, but it's a person who was on immunosuppressive drugs, so the vaccine didn't take, or a person who just has, profound health issues or is 89 years old or something like that. But it is just, it's amazing. Tucker, I'm so sorry to hear about your best friend, and I appreciate your coming on and sharing the story with us from Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Thank you very much. And
thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the call. Sandra in Omaha, Nebraska. Sandra, what's on your mind today?
Hi. I guess I've kind of reached my tolerance level today, and it just kind of hit me that all these people that choose not to be vaccinated are clogging up the hospitals. They're wearing out our professionals to the point that they're quitting because they can't take it anymore. And people that need a doctor, need a hospital because of appendicitis, or they need a broken leg fixed or a heart attack or whatever, can't get in because there's no beds available. And I've reached the point where, I'm done. I want everybody in every medical facility, every doctor, every nurse to say, you know what? If you've got your vaccines, or if you've got proof for some reason you cannot be vaccinated, we will treat you. Otherwise, stay home, because we will quarantine anyone who is not vaccinated. You will stay home until you are, because this is 2 years now of this crap, and hospitals are just being pushed to the limit. People can't see a doctor when they need to, and they're falling through the cracks because of heartless, selfish vaccine deniers who won't listen to reason. So I'm done with them. I'm tired. They're off my Christmas list. They're off my list of everything else.
Yeah.
I'm done with them.
I'm with you, Sandra.
I think
that's why
hospitals should just say no.
On Friday, you know, my Hartmann Report published piece was basically, you know, it's time to have a national vaccine mandate, bring in vaccine passports, and treat these folks like pariahs. And you should have read my Twitter feed Friday afternoon and Saturday. I mean, people calling me a fascist and a Nazi.
Yeah.
And, you know, when did you sign up for?
I don't even use Twitter. So.
Yeah. No, it was crazy, and you know, apparently a couple of right wingers reposted my piece into the right wingosphere, and it's like the wrath of God came down on me. But I'm with you. I am with you. I get it. You know, in medicine, you know, it's like you know, on the one hand, doctors don't say to somebody who you know is in a crisis with say lung disease or you know has passed out from you know, a lack of insulin. They don't say, do you have lung disease because you smoke cigarettes, or are you having a crisis with your diabetes because you weigh too much and you ate too much food, or what, you know, that whole moral failing BS argument about weight. Right. You know, doctors just don't do that. You just don't do that. You give people the help they need, regardless of the choices that they made in their lives, or things that people think are choices that aren't, you know, like weight. More often than not, but this is way beyond that. This has gone way beyond that point.
Yeah, they're costing other people who have been responsible their lives because they can't get a bed. When they have to fly them 500 miles across state lines to find an open bed, that's insane.
I agree. I completely agree. Sandra, thank you. Thank you very much for the call. Wes in Miami, Florida. Hey, Wes, what's up?
How you doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
You were talking about Joe Biden, why he's not popular. He's not popular because this is the strategy of the Republicans. All their bullet points don't require them to spend any money on their constituents. So, I mean, this is all about, we were talking about with Alec, this is all about money.
Yep.
It's all about, I mean, let's face it, what does the Senate and the Congress do? They allocate tax money.
And here's a question, by the way, Wes, that somebody was posing on the internet over the weekend that I saw this and I thought, wow, why didn't I think of that before? We spend half our federal budget on defense. But you know, we spend way less than that on supporting people. Why don't we spend more on supporting American citizens than we do on the military?
Well, if the Republican Party relied on constituents to pay for their campaigning, then they would.
Yeah.
But they don't get their money from them.
No, they get their money from the right-wing billionaires and the big corporations. You're absolutely right.
And the military complex. And this is where their money comes from. This is why Citizens United is the first thing that really needs to be changed.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I would tell people, and I would tell Democrats that are running, that the biggest thing that they can do to win is keep reminding them, their constituents, and the people that listen to them, the people, because it's all the people, what their money is going to go for.
Yeah.
Do you want your money to go back to people that don't pay taxes, that don't pay you enough money to live, or do you want the money to go to you and your benefit?
Yeah.
This is the bottom line.
Yeah. By the way, the U.S. just announced an Olympic boycott. I think the last time that happened was when Jimmy Carter was president, but I could be wrong, of the Winter Olympics, which are in China, over the treatment of Uyghurs in China. That's fascinating.
We have so many problems with China and Russia. I mean, is a boycott going to be what's going to work?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, my quick take on those things, Wes, is I believe that I could be wrong on this, but I think that China actually represents a threat in terms of taking Taiwan. I think there's a very real threat there. I think with regard to Russia and Ukraine, what Russia is trying to do is to say, stop moving NATO closer to our borders. They're saying the same thing John Kennedy said in 1962, as I recall, or 62, with the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he said to Russia or to the Soviet Union, you may not put missiles 90 miles away from the United States. Ukraine is right on Russia's border, and they're saying we don't want NATO on our border.
Ukraine is not part of NATO, right?
No, they're not. And I think that this is a negotiating strategy on the part of Putin. But I could be wrong. I mean, maybe he is willing to start a war over this. I don't know.
What if all NATO were to get together and say, hey, let's bring Ukraine into NATO? What would he do then?
Well, that's what he's threatening to take. He's threatening to seize Ukraine, and but I think it's he's trying to hold off NATO. Our deal that George Herbert Walker Bush blew up was that there would be no NATO countries that have contiguous borders with Russia. But
all right, thank you for taking my call, Tom.
Yeah, you're welcome, Wes. Thanks a lot for the call. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
But I do think that China has reached the point where they are sufficiently powerful that they're no longer afraid of the United States militarily. We'll see. We'll be back. And welcome back. Patrick in East Lansing, Michigan. Hey, Patrick, thanks for watching us on Facebook Live. What's up?
Oh, thank you for your discussion about mask mandates and vaccines and also abortion last week. And I just wanted to see if we could tie the two together, because lots of people talk about the right to an abortion, and they also talk about the right not to wear a mask and not to get vaccinated. And I just want to comment that neither right exists, and it's just absolutely clear, and we need to just stop talking that way. I worked on the Casey decision at the Third Circuit with Judge Alito on the panel, and I've represented the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. And I'm aware of the language of Casey and what it did and what it didn't do. And it made very clear that it's protecting a woman's right to control her body free of restraint. But it's not giving her a right to an abortion, and it's not in conflict with the right of the fetus. So it enshrines this liberty interest that we as Americans, by a very large majority, support, which is this freedom from restraint. And I know freedom from restraint has these two parts. One is to do what you want to do, and one is not to harm others. And in the case of abortion, the woman's right to control her body in the first trimester and most of the second trimester allows her to be free of intrusion, like the government does when it forces medical treatment or sterilization or tortures you or holds you without due process. This is a due process right. Similarly, people say they have a right in the Constitution not to wear a mask. They have no such right because they don't have a right to get me sick.
Well, look at the 1905 Jacobson case before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court specifically ruled that, in fact, here, this is just one sentence. The Constitution does not, or two sentences, the Constitution does not import an absolute right in each person to be, at all times and in all circumstances, wholly free from restraint. A community has the right to protect itself against an epidemic, and its members may at times, under the pressure of great dangers, be subject to such restraint to be enforced by reasonable regulations as the safety of the general public may demand. This is a vaccination case. It had to do with smallpox, but it was a vaccination case. 1905.
I only wanted to add one thing. I mean, my daughter is in high school, and she was coughed on by a young man who wouldn't get vaccinated, who wanted to get vaccinated. Her parents wouldn't allow it. They don't require testing. They don't require quarantine for people exposed. If you're
is this in East Lansing Public Schools?
Yes.
My wife went to school there.
There's no vaccination
shocking.
required. So
those are very upscale schools.
Well, but then you know what I'm talking about. But this is a school that should have better rules. But these rules are in the whole state. This young man went to a hospital. Okay, he got very sick. But they weren't protecting the people he was coughing all over. And I just want to mention that this is what's going on across the places where Republican governors are banning mask mandates. And it got so bad in Arkansas that Asa Hutchinson, the governor, who actually adopted the mask mandate, begged the courts to enjoin it, saying it was a disaster with the Delta variant. That's what happened in Florida without Governor DeSantis coming to the light. And that's what happened in Texas, where the courts enjoined the taking away of democracy and mask mandates in San Antonio and Houston being overruled, and the courts reinstated them. And that's what happened in Georgia. So the Republicans are very, very confused. They want to take away democracy at the local level. They want to create a right that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, well said, Patrick. Well, but I don't think confused is quite the right word. I think hypocrite is a better word. But I'm with you. Patrick, thank you very much for the call. 10 minutes before the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be right back. Stick around. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. Welcome back. 9 minutes before the hour. Paul in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, Paul, what's up?
Tom, we can't say we approve of Joe Biden, but with caveats. It's just, Tom, humility goes along with nice guys finish last. That's just not the era we're in. Joe Biden is the greatest leader in the history of the world. In fact, the sun has come up more times over America and indeed the world than ever before, and every new day is a record. I mean, that's what Trump has left us with. And I'm sorry, it offends my sensibilities that humility is no longer a virtue. But that's what it is. It's kind of like we've had to change my mind in a lot of ways about society in the last 40 years. Yeah. But, you know...
No, I get what you're saying, Paul. And if somebody called me up and said, hi, we're with Gallup, what do you think of Joe Biden's performance? I'd say 100% I think he's wonderful, because I want that in the statistics. But the fact, as Michael Moore was pointing out, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, there's a bunch of stuff I want and I haven't gotten yet, so I'm still in the middle. I mean, how would you respond?
Well, that's true. But, you know, I remind of when I was a young teacher and teaching writing, and I had a kid who, when he wanted to write an essay, I was teaching the 3-point essay. He didn't like NAFTA. I said, so here's your thesis, then your 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and we get done. Now your summary paragraph. He starts out with, people who support NAFTA have a lot of good points. I went, no, that's not what you're arguing, son. Right? You don't start. What are you trying to be, magnanimous here? You haven't talked about the good points about the. And by the way, why do you want to argue for them? Right? Let them make their own arguments about NAFTA. Yep. And there's no reason that you get no points for being a nice guy for observing somebody else's good points. You just don't.
Yeah.
And by the way, in terms of NPR, you know, when Susan Stamberg was the CEO of NPR, she kind of sold out public broadcasting to the Kochs and all of the big donors because the Bush administration wanted to cut funding to public broadcasting. And besides, you know, I worked for WKR in East Lansing, NPR station. These semi-annual fund drives drive the station managers crazy, and it actually helps to take money from the big corporations. And you can see what's happened to NPR over the last 15 years, right? You've talked about that before. Yeah. And the reason they say that, it was a surge when Trump had added 225,000 jobs in January 2020 is because the third and fourth quarter of 2019, he was teetering on recession.
Yeah.
At 1.9% growth and then 2.1 in the fourth quarter. If he wouldn't have made that 0.2, it would have been a recession.
All right. Yeah. No, I get that. And I think that, frankly, I'm not convinced that the shift to the right on the part of NPR and PBS, to the extent that it's there, are the result of advertiser influence. I think they're more the result of the Brent Bozels of the world, the people, you know, the right wing billionaires have funded multiple organizations that do nothing but harass media. And this goes back to the 80s with the whole work the refs thing, you know, that came out of what's his name's whole shtick. And there is no equivalent of that on the left, or at least there hasn't been until fairly recently. Jeff Cohen had FAIR for a while, but it kind of faded away. But now you've got Eric Boehlert out there really pushing hard, and it's starting to get some traction. And so, you know, I think that things are changing. But anyhow, Paul, thank you. Very, very well said. I was asking earlier why are the Republicans killing their own people? Brad in Elk Grove Village here. It says, you know why Tucker Carlson opposed vax mandate?
What's that? Well, my thought on this is that they have no moral compass. They have no conscience.
But they have a self-interest. Why kill your own viewers?
Well, my own point is what I think part of what the left needs to do is to really attack these people on their religious hypocrisy. And I think there may be a number of people. You're not going to peel off a great deal, but you'll peel off some of these religious zealots and who, if you show them, hey, would Jesus Christ act in any way like you do? I think you'd get some traction there. Am I just too idealistic?
I think you are.
That would work.
I think you are. And I'm still trying to figure out, I get it that the Republican, that there's two steps here that everybody seems to be missing. Number one was Donald Trump back in April of 2020, when he was president, decided that he was heading into an election in 7-8 months, and he knew that whichever party, that when the economy goes soft, whichever party is in power loses the election. And he did not want to lose that election. So he was pushing people to go back to work and go back into the stores and go shopping. And so he was trying to minimize the virus. I mean, he told Bob Woodward that in February, that, he was going to downplay it. So I get that. And I also get that after Joe Biden became president, the same Republicans wanted to screw with the economy and make it bad for Biden. And so they started, again, pushing people back out to get, go out and get sick, please. But now it's reached the point where the only people getting sick and dying are 6-1 or 600% higher rates are in the red counties that vote for Trump versus the blue counties that voted for Biden. Blue counties that voted for Biden have 1/6 the death rate of COVID. At this point, it seems like that political strategy should be out the window. And I don't understand why it's not. That it's just not working for them. It's going to get more and more and more obvious that, if you live in a blue county, you're safe. If you live in a red county, good luck, Charlie.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More info at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleep and pain relief. More info is available at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Ground News, a well-rounded perspective for news readers. More info at ground.news/Tom. Angie, for any project on your to-do list. More info at Angie.com. Dinovite, a whole food supplement for your pet's immune system. More info at Dinovite.com. And ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom.
There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. with the Free Speech TV Solidarity T-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, well, it's the second week of our pledge drive, our winter pledge drive, and we're asking you once again to call 877-378-8669 and make a contribution to Free Speech TV. You can also text FSTV to 44-321, which is easy to remember, 44321, right? Just 2 4s, 321. But text FSTV, like Free Speech TV, to 44321, or 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. It has been suggested to me that perhaps by going on for a whole 6 minutes in this pitch every half hour, that I'm giving people an opportunity to run to the bathroom or putting them to sleep. So I wanted to bring you some information in the middle of this pitch. This brought to you by Free Speech TV and your opportunity to give to Free Speech TV. A little geeky science for the day. More than 46,000 cancer cases in the United States might be prevented every year if all of us just did one simple thing: walk for 45 minutes a day. This is an amazing new study. They looked at the physical activity and cancer incidence and physical activity habits of nearly 600,000 American men and women in every state and the District of Columbia. And what they found, epidemiologically, statistically, was that 3% of all the common cancers in the United States are strongly linked to inactivity. So physical activity, they say, changes the immune system in ways that amplify the body's ability to fight cancer. And exercise, for example, ramps up the activity of certain immune cells known to target cancer cells. So get out there, get active, right? Like I say at the end of the show every day, tag, you're it. This was, by the way, published in Medicine and Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it was published by researchers in the American Cancer Society and Emory University Medical School in Atlanta. So that's your geeky science for the day, brought to you by Free Speech TV, which is asking you right now to call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution for the day. Become part of Free Speech TV, become part of this really cool television network, and help us move forward. Help us keep this network on the air and help us grow and strengthen this network. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare: Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity T-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's been 2 years now, or nearly 2 years that March 7th was the last time I traveled and came back here. And so it's been a while since I've seen anybody in person, and I'm looking forward to ending this pandemic. Thus, my call last Friday for us to say people who are not vaccinated need to get vaccinated. Let's just leave it at that without getting too contentious. But step by step. But here we have Free Speech TV, an extraordinary television network, some really great programs on it. Every program on the network gets a small slice of what you donate when you donate it during the time that program is on the air. This is one of the ways that a lot of these programs actually exist. And so, and it helps ours as well. So please know that and make your contribution to Free Speech TV, whatever you can afford. 877-378-8669. Monthly contributions, even small ones, are really good too.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the third hour of our program. Absolute Liars is the headline over on Politico. This is an absolutely breathtaking story. You will recall back months and months ago when I laid out how, when it became public, the memo that Christopher Miller wrote as the acting Secretary of Defense, in which he was saying to the D.C. National Guard, you may not assist the Capitol Police unless you hear specifically and directly from me. And then that permission was withheld until, for several hours, until it was clear that Mike Pence had not been hung and that the ballots were secure. And at that point, these people inside the Trump administration said, okay, cool, go ahead. And one of them was Mike Flynn's brother. And now a former D.C. National Guard official is blowing the whistle on this thing. And why there is not a congressional, well, maybe there is, and it's just something we don't know about. But this is Colonel Earl Matthews, who was on the National Security Council. He worked at the Pentagon during the Trump administration. And he's calling out two Army generals, specifically Charles Flynn, Mike Flynn's brother, who was the Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations on January 6th, and Lieutenant General Walter Piatt, Piatt, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Piatt, the director of the Army Staff. And these guys were on this phone call where they said, no, you can't send the National Guard into D.C. And according to Colonel Matthews, according to Colonel Matthews, these guys, he was on the phone call with these guys. And he says, they said, oh, you can't send the National Guard in, because having soldiers come into the Capitol would look like we were a tin horn dictatorship. You can't have that happen. So just let the mob ransack the Capitol. This is what Mike Flynn's brother was saying. But then when he went before Congress, or at least Piatt went before Congress and testified, he said, "Oh no, that's not what we were saying. We there was just miscommunication and bumbling around, and it was they really had no answer." But he calls them absolute and unmitigated liars. His phrase, not mine. Colonel Matthews said, this is the memo that he wrote about these two generals, who are, by the way, still two generals. In fact, General Flynn is now in charge of the Pacific Army Fleet. I mean, he got a promotion out of this. He said, and I quote, every leader in the D.C. Guard wanted to respond and knew they could respond to the riot at the seat of government. He said, instead, they sat stunned watching in the armory during the attack. They were just blocks away or just miles away, and they had to sit in the armory and watch this attack on television because Chris Miller, the Secretary of Defense, and Mike Flynn's brother, who was in charge of the Army, said, no, you can't do it. The piece is in Politico. It's titled Absolute Liars, Politico.com. They note Matthews' memo levels several major accusations that Flynn and Piatt lied to Congress about their response, that the Army has created its own closely held revisionist document about the Capitol riot that's, quote, this is from his memo, that is worthy of the best Stalinist or North Korean propagandist. It's amazing. Politico reached out to both Flynn and Piatt, and neither one of them responded. The head of the Capitol Police at the time, Stephen Sund, pleaded on this phone call for the National Guard to come to the Capitol. Matthews recalled. He was on the call again. Colonel Matthews was on the call. And the head of the Capitol Police was begging Mike Flynn's brother to send the National Guard, and was begging Piatt, the director of the Army staff, one of the top generals in the Pentagon. And Flynn was the Army's director of operations. These two men were the highest-ranking Army officials on this call at 2:30 in the afternoon of January 6th. Matthews wrote, Lieutenant General Piatt stated that it would not be his best military advice to recommend to the Secretary of the Army and the D.C. National Guard be allowed to deploy to the Capitol at this time. Both Flynn and Piatt stated that the optics of having uniformed military personnel deployed to the U.S. Capitol would not be good. They both told Congress that that was not the case. And according to this colonel, they lied. Piatt and Flynn at 2:37 p.m. recommended for the D.C. Guard to stand by rather than deploying. 4 minutes later, according to that Guard timeline, Flynn, again, I'm quoting from the Politico piece, quote, advised D.C. National Guard to stand by until the request had been routed to then Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy and then Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller, the guy who wrote the memo saying you may not help the Capitol Police. You'll recall that. I've read it on the air at least a dozen times. Matthews writes, everyone on the call, except for Piatt and Flynn, who were saying, no, we won't send soldiers, everyone on the call was, quote, astounded. Now, Flynn said, quote, I never expressed a concern about the visuals, image, or public perception of sending guardsmen to the Capitol. This is what he told a member of Congress when he was asked. Matthews in this memo says that is outright perjury in front of Congress. He was under oath. Matthews says that assertion constitutes, quote, the willful deception of Congress. I mean, it doesn't get worse than this. This is mind-boggling. The Pentagon lied and people died. You can read about it over at Politico.com. It's just incredible. And our crazy alert for the day, I've got to share this with you. This one comes from over at Daily Kos. They've been doing this daily piece. As far as I can tell, it's daily. Marcos, I think himself, was writing them for a while, and now it's their staff. They call it the Anti-Vax Chronicles, and what they do is a deep dive using social media. Most of this stuff is coming off Facebook, into the minds of people who have died of COVID. And because they're dead, they're now, you can use their names and you can identify them, without fear of retribution. And so this is bizarre. They start with the husband. This is from a Facebook post or a social media post. They don't specify that it's, it is Facebook. Finally heard from the doctor today. I love that man. He is so well connected. He said, be patient. Turn your TV off. Don't listen to the fake news. They're trying to keep us apart. They're trying to arrest us for not taking a vaccine, which is totally illegal. I don't care what they pass. Read the 14th Amendment. It says right there that all 50 states that agree on a pun something as to take the vaccine, that they cannot force you. If they try, they will be removed from their public office and arrested. So do your research, people. The 14th Amendment, read it. Do not let mainstream media or the fake Joe Biden cloud your mind. Blah-de, 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 blah. Okay, it goes on. So then, that's the husband. Then the wife. Okay, on another update, our son has had another setback. He is now being put on a ventilator. Please pray that he will not take his life, but will give life. That this will give his lungs a chance to breathe. He doesn't have much more. Please pray. Help me fight for my son. My husband got to move down a ward, had his PAP mask removed. So both the husband and the kid are now in the hospital. This is the husband who just earlier was saying this is a commie plot, essentially. The doctor said he shouldn't be, never seen it in anyone in this stage. He's walking. All good. Keep your prayers. Please keep sending them. So the husband and son are in the hospital, and the son is in deep trouble. He's been put on a ventilator. And then the wife, COVID from hell. Literally, it's from hell. The Lord showed me and my prayer warriors that some nurses are witches and have been sent to take out Christians. No joke. It's real, folks. And, her husband recovered, but then on it goes. The son apparently didn't. Oh, and they also said Joe Biden is dead. He's an actor standing in for him. One person on Reddit commented on this saying, my wife is an ICU respiratory nurse in a big city hospital. All of the COVID patients end up in her unit when they need a ventilator. A year ago, they were celebrated as heroes, the nurses. Today, they are yelled at, blamed, and called witches because the only patients that end up in these COVID ICU units are unvaccinated. They're all true believers. So in addition to tagging multiple toes per shift, 100% of her patients and their families think she has culpability in their loved one's death. She talks about quitting almost every day. 30% of her unit's nurses have already quit. Can you imagine working in one of these units where 100% of the people who are dying are unvaccinated, and they are all asserting that you, as the nurse who is caring for them, or as the physician who is caring for them, or as the physician's assistant, or as the respiratory therapist, that you are a witch, that you are demonic, that you are... There was another piece that I read this morning about how now there are these lawsuits being filed against hospitals after people die because the hospital refused to give them ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. You wouldn't give them that horse deworming stuff. You wouldn't give them the malaria drug, and therefore they died of COVID. When in fact, what we know from the actual science is that ivermectin doesn't do anything for COVID, although it does strain your body. I mean, it's designed to kill multicellular organisms, right? Parasites. It's a poison. Low dose, yeah, it'll kill your head lice, but, you know, is that, or the worms if you've got them. And hydroxychloroquine does nothing for COVID, but it increases your risk of a heart attack. It causes heart arrhythmias. Now, none of these lawsuits are going to succeed, but can you imagine the hassle if you're a doctor or a nurse or a hospital and you're having to defend these things? Can you imagine just working in a hospital and being told by people whose lives you're trying to save that you're satanic, that you are evil? I mean, they're literally getting in fights. People are being assaulted. Nurses and doctors in hospitals are being assaulted by COVID patients because they won't give them ivermectin. This is how bizarre it's gotten. And where is this coming from? It's coming out of Fox News. It's coming out of right-wing hate media. It's coming out of these bizarre sportscasters who have decided that they are health experts like Joe Rogan. It is coming out of Facebook groups. It is coming out of social media. It is coming out of the Republican Party. This is so sad. We'll be back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
18 minutes past the hour. I'll pick up your phone calls after this. Stick around. And welcome back. Dion in, is it Crystalhurst, New Jersey? Am I saying that right?
No, I moved from Chislehurst. I'm down in Monroe, Louisiana now.
Oh my, okay, I'll fix your, apparently your phone number is...
in probably 2 years.
Okay, so what's up?
Yeah, I wanted to give a counterpoint to the guy who was talking about attacking their religion. No, we don't want to attack their religion. What we want to do is we want to talk about the things we have in common. Money and politics.
Is hurting everyone.
Yeah, these are the things that are hurting everyone. Talk about them. Those are the things, and ask them. The main key point is to ask them questions. What would you do about it?
Right.
Now, how would you fix this?
I can tell you, I can tell you, Dion, that I have talked with, on the air, I've talked with some of these conservatives, and I'll say, do you really think that billionaires should be able to buy our elections? And they'll go so far as to say that they don't think that people who are not unemployed, they think that only basically wealthy people should even be allowed to vote, much less,
Yes, I watch your show almost every day. I volunteer for the TYT Army, and we see it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of these are the common things that we have that, you know, billing, medical billing, and how convoluted it is, how stressful it is to sick people.
Yeah.
You know, it makes their health even worse. The fact that we have zero health care, mental health care in this country. You know, and another thing about, I was just listening to you about the ivermectin, about the patients in the hospital attacking doctors and nurses. U.S. versus Alvarez is a Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court decided that lying is covered under the First Amendment.
Right.
Why can't they lie to them, give them some kind of food paste and an ivermectin box?
Because they're doctors. You don't do that. You don't lie to patients unless you've got a psychiatrist signing off on it. I'm sorry?
You know? But why do we have perjury laws then, you know?
Well, it's kind of a different thing, but you know, I my heart just goes out to these healthcare professionals. I mean, you know, they are facing such terrible burnout. You know,
my cousin is a doctor. She graduated from Harvard Medical about 11 years ago, and she's having a hell of a time. Yeah. Two of my kids, same thing. It's just what is. You know, fortunately here in Portland, there's less of it, but we're getting now the overflow from the red counties around us, where people are dying from COVID. You know, it's not happening so much in Multnomah County and in Portland itself. We have like an over 90% vaccination rate in Portland, but we've got counties here in Oregon with below 30% vaccination rates, and people are dropping like flies. They're all MAGA counties. Same here in Louisiana. In Louisiana, I don't go anywhere. I don't trust. Yeah. I moved here because I couldn't afford to live in New Jersey after my husband passed away. So it's the cost of living, but you know, but you have to deal with the maggots. It's got to be tough. Yeah, my Social Security check is a lot bigger here. Yeah. Dion, nice to hear from you again. Thank you for the call. Good talking with you. We'll be back. It's 22 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Back with more of your calls in just a moment. We will just have a conversation here for the rest of the hour about why are these people killing their own viewers? Why are these politicians killing their own voters? I am still trying to figure this out. Our 1 hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3 hour podcast available over at thomhartmann.com if you want to really support our program. When I was a kid, back in the day, when I was 14, actually, I got a job, had to get a work permit, in fact, to get this job at Henry's Hamburgers in Lansing, Michigan, just down the street from McDonald's, flipping burgers for, as I recall, $2.15 an hour, whatever the minimum wage was. And back then, you know, we understood that minimum wage jobs were largely for teenagers after school to earn a little extra money. It wasn't always the case. It depended on where you lived in the country and who you were. But by and large, that's no longer the reality, although that is the Republicans' story that they tell themselves. The reality now is that the average age is 35 years old, that 90% of minimum wage workers are not teens, that 59% are women, 28% have children. More than half, 54%, work full-time, and that essential and frontline workers are overrepresented among the minimum wage workers. Got a whole video about this over at thomhartmann.com that you can check out about the minimum wage. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, picking up your calls. Steve in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Steve, what's up?
Greetings, Tom. Point one, Flynn and that crew, they all need to be in jail for at least 20 years maximum. Number two, these people, they don't care if they kill their voters. They look at them as chattel, and due to the fact that they figure they're going to just rig the elections how they're doing it now anyways, throughout the country, and they're just going to come back to power.
So they don't need them.
Voters, yeah, they don't need them. And unless we pass S1, we're going to go down the tubes. Yeah. The third thing is getting back on this. These people who are in the hospital, or you can't get in the hospitals and stuff. It's just infuriating that they won't get vaxxed and boosted. We're all vaxxed and boosted. It's maddening. We were in Phoenix Airport 3 times, different times this year, or 6 actually, coming and going. And I'd say 5% of the people wandering around Phoenix International don't have masks on, and that's just infuriating.
That's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy that the airport is allowing that. I'm pretty sure they don't allow that here in the Portland airport.
Well, it is. LAX, they had. I didn't see nothing going on there. And
everybody was masked at LAX.
Too. What's that?
You mean everybody was wearing a mask at LAX at the Los Angeles airport?
I think so. This was in August, back when we were in Redondo Beach and we were in that shooting at the pier. I told you about.
Right.
Back in Dane County, there was a mask mandate because we went back there in mid-November and celebrate our wedding anniversary. And also in Rosemont, they had mask mandates. Kenosha County, not at all. But where I'm going with
in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin. So it's infuriating. It's just infuriating. But my wife came up with this idea, and I think it's a good one. We need to establish field hospitals to put these people who are unvaxxed and need care, put them out in the parking lot or whatever, and save the hospitals for people that need treatment for various medical conditions, whatever it may be. I myself, I'm actually considered a stage 4 cancer because of my prostate. I had a 1 millimeter spread. Luckily, a year later, I'm undetectable still. But I don't know where mine's going to go. And there's so many people that need brain surgery, any type of surgery that's out there possible. And it's infuriating that these people that won't do the right thing are clogging it up. Tom, I'm going to let you go because I appreciate you letting me go on here. And thanks so much, buddy.
Yeah, good talking to you, Steve. It is a crisis. It is a crisis right now. The lies that are being promoted in right-wing media and by the Republican Party are creating a crisis for hospitals all across the United States. It's wrong.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And there needs to be some kind of an accountability here. And secondary hospitals or other buildings for people who won't vaccinate, fine. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. Or the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's the second week of our pledge drive, our winter pledge drive, and we're asking you once again to call 877-378-8669 and make a contribution to Free Speech TV. You can also text FSTV to 44-321, which is easy to remember, 44321, right? Just 2 4s, 321. But text FSTV, like Free Speech TV, to 44321, or 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. It has been suggested to me that perhaps by going on for a whole 6 minutes in this pitch every half hour, that I'm giving people an opportunity to run to the bathroom or putting them to sleep. So I wanted to bring you some information in the middle of this pitch. This brought to you by Free Speech TV and your opportunity to give to Free Speech TV. A little geeky science for the day. More than 46,000 cancer cases in the United States might be prevented every year if all of us just did one simple thing. Walk for 45 minutes a day. This is an amazing new study. They looked at the physical activity and cancer incidence and physical activity habits of nearly 600,000 American men and women in every state and the District of Columbia. And what they found, epidemiologically, statistically, was that 3% of all the common cancers in the United States are strongly linked to inactivity. So physical activity, they say, changes the immune system in ways that amplify the body's ability to fight cancer. And exercise, for example, ramps up the activity of certain immune cells known to target cancer cells. So get out there, get active, right? Like I say at the end of the show every day, tag, you're it. This was, by the way, published in Medicine and Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it was published by researchers in the American Cancer Society and Emory University Medical School in Atlanta. So that's your Geeky Science for the day, brought to you by Free Speech TV, which is asking you right now to call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution for the day. Become part of Free Speech TV, become part of this really cool television network, and help us move forward. Help us keep this network on the air and help us grow and strengthen this network. There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With the $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With the $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course, it's been 2 years now, or nearly 2 years that March 7th was the last time I traveled and came back here. And so it's been a while since I've seen anybody in person, and I'm looking forward to ending this pandemic. Thus, my call last Friday for us to say people who are not vaccinated need to get vaccinated. Let's just leave it at that without getting too contentious. But step by step. But here we have Free Speech TV, an extraordinary television network, some really great programs on it. Every program on the network gets a small slice of what you donate when you donate it during the time that program is on the air. This is one of the ways that a lot of these programs actually exist, and so and it helps ours as well. So please know that and make your contribution to Free Speech TV, whatever you can afford. 877-378-8669. Monthly contributions, even small ones, are really good too. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. So Sweden had this epidemiologist guy, not a physician, who was in charge for a while of their response to COVID. They've put together a commission to look into, what screwed up so badly. Why did so many Swedes die? In Brazil, they got the second worst rate of COVID infection and deaths in the world, behind us. And their Senate put together a 1,000+ page report, basically saying that President Jair Bolsonaro should be tried for mass murder and crimes against humanity. Here in the United States, we've got this massive death toll, the worst in the world, certainly one of the worst in the developed world anyway. And we're doing basically nothing about it. We're not looking into it. Can you imagine if when Barack Obama was president, 700,000 Americans died? I mean, keep in mind, 4 Americans died at Benghazi, dozens of congressional hearings, 11 hours of testimony from Hillary Clinton. We've got a video about all this over at thomhartmann.com. Check it out. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Eric in Seattle. Hey, Eric, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, how you doing? The Omicron variant came from South Africa. The Delta variant came from India. I mean,
actually, we're not certain of that, Eric. The South Africans are saying that they believe it was circulating in Europe and that it came from Europe. But who knows?
Yeah.
But anyhow, what's your point?
Well, my question is, basically back in November of 2020, India and South Africa are, lobbying that they released a patent waiver. And I just don't see how Biden says he can mandate, hundreds of millions of Americans that they have to, take the vaccine, but he can't constitutionally mandate the pharmaceutical companies release the patent, even though we financed, $10 billion.
The problem isn't, arguably he could do that in the United States under the Defense Production Act. He could force them to allow other American companies within the United States to manufacture vaccines. But that's not the problem. We've got more vaccines than we need here in the United States. In fact, we're the largest. We are giving away more vaccines to more countries around the world than any other country on earth. The problem is countries outside the United States and companies outside the United States. And those are not controlled by the United States Constitution or U.S. law. They're controlled by the World Trade Organization, which came into being in the 1990s as a result of Ronald Reagan's revived General Agreement on Tariff and Trade negotiations, the GATT negotiations. And the World Trade Organization has final say on these things, on any kind of intellectual property disputes. And the World Trade Organization has not adopted the so-called TRIPS waivers, the intellectual property waivers. So that's the problem, Eric. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I just think there should be more pressure on Biden, on them. I'm sure he could, we're American, we could, push our weight to get those released. And it seems like just vilifying your neighbor who's just making a choice, to have a medical procedure done or not versus, a pharmaceutical company could release $2 billion across the world to stop these variants is kind of sending the wrong message. I think it just more increases vaccine sales, than actually.
Oh, there's no doubt that the vaccine companies are making money hand over fist on this thing, and that apparently they're fighting the TRIPS waivers as well. And I think that that's immoral at the very least and destructive to human life on the planet at the most. Eric, thank you for the call. Nola in Inglewood. Hey, Nola, what's on your mind today?
Two things real quick, and I'll take my answer off the air. First, a third caller earlier, a little while ago, explained that the reason why the GOP are doing what they do, because since they're rigging the elections, they no longer figure that their their voter base is important. Pleasing their donor base is the most important thing. Secondly, my favorite YouTuber, Mama Baby Dr. Jones, successfully got her medical degree and will now be leaving the United States to New Zealand. And probably one of the reasons why she's making the move, because she spent a good amount of time in Texas. Now, in the history of the rise and fall of the Third Reich, when fascism is taking hold, a country sees a brain drain of its professional class.
You're right.
So
it happened in Germany from 33 to 36.
Yes. That's my question. I'll take my answer off.
Oh, is your question, are we seeing the same thing in the United States, Nola? I think maybe Nola has left. I don't know the answer to the question. I don't know if there's a large number of professionals who are leaving this country. My guess is that that's not the case because other countries other democratic countries are making it increasingly difficult for Americans to go there. And what we need to do is we need to strengthen democracy in America. We need to be fighting for this country. The Democratic Party needs to proclaim itself the party of freedom, which was my rant today at HartmannReport.com. And I encourage you to share it far and wide, and particularly share it with your Democratic politicians. I've shared it with Democratic politicians I know. I think it's like this is what the Democratic Party needs to do. They need to roll out the freedom agenda and start putting everything they do in the context of freedom, because freedom sells in the United States. And, Anyhow, Andy in Hoosick Falls, New York. Hey, Andy, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I consider this issue kind of a problem with healthy competition, and I also see it as a war of attrition.
Which issue?
Well, the Republican Party killing their own people.
Okay.
And the thing is that what we're witnessing here is the same mind that controls the Republican Party is the same mind that controlled the trenches in the First World War. We'll send 100,000 people to die because we think that 110,000 on the other side will die. So the numbers are immaterial to them. But
it's not working out that way. I mean, the bluest counties are having 1/6 the death rate of the reddest counties.
Right. So this is the other issue: the lack of healthy competition. In a healthy democracy, we have competition. Voting is competition. And what we're not experiencing is healthy competition in our democracy anymore. And I have heard your other viewers mention this: gerrymandering and voter suppression. Because no logical, right-minded person would advance a policy of killing their own people if they knew there was a competition.
Right.
So if the Republicans believed in true competition, which they don't, right, they would open up the districts so that the Marjorie Taylor Greens out there would have that healthy competition. Right. But they absolutely know that they're going to get voted back in an office, and they know that the amount of people that are dying is still less than the amount of people that they're suppressing.
Yeah. By the way, to your point, Andy, Joe Biden just did a press conference and announced, among other things, that the Biden administration is suing the state of Texas because the population of Texas over the last decade expanded enough that they got either one or two new congressional seats, but they gerrymandered the state so heavily. Virtually all of that population expansion was among the Hispanic population, and they gerrymandered the state so heavily that there's actually a decline in Hispanic representation. And so they're using the Voting Rights Act's racial, slice and dice as the basis for their lawsuit. It'll be interesting. That's going to go to the Supreme Court, I guarantee you.
Yeah, and here's our talking point, our Democratic talking point. It's healthy competition. We believe in competition.
Yes.
And so we're promoting competition.
Yes.
We're not promoting socialism. We're promoting competition.
I'm with you. I think that's a very, very good point. Thank you very much for the call, Andy. I appreciate it. George in Chicago. Hey, George, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. What's on my mind makes me a bit uncomfortable. I'm in somewhat of disagreement with you over Putin and his threats to Ukraine.
That's fine. You're welcome to disagree with me, George. Make your case.
Thank you. The history of Europe and of Russia indicates that the countries around the perimeter of Russia are rightfully suspicious of Great Russia, Imperial Russia, and Soviet Russia, and current Russia. My ancestors came from Belarus and Poland, and they had long experience with being under the Russian boot heel. I mean, today, Belarus is essentially a client state aided and abetted by the fealty of Lukashenko to Putin and willingness to take whatever aid Putin will give him to stay
and in that, I think you're making my point, George, which is that Putin wants to have his borders basically safe, shall we say. And if he can do it by co-opting the local governments, and as in the case of Lukashenko in Belarus, that's the easiest, safest, most comfortable way for him to do it. He's been trying to do that with Ukraine, nearly pulled it off in the election that, I'm forgetting his name right now, the current president, won. But I think he would much rather do that. But I'm not sure he's willing to start World War III over this.
Well, we have to make sure, in the tradition of Theodore Roosevelt, of speaking softly but carrying a big stick, that war is not an option for Putin. The Ukrainians have a right to be independent and free and to be masters of their own destiny without Russian troops on their soil. That's a given. And Putin should not fear countries joining NATO unless he's threatening them, and he is threatening them. And 175,000 troops against a country like Ukraine is a great mismatch.
I totally get what you're saying, George. Do you think that John Kennedy, when he said to the Soviet Union, you may not put missiles 90 miles away from the United States' border because we will not tolerate your military presence 90 miles away from us, was wrong?
I think that he was doing his job as the commander-in-chief and his job as protecting the United States.
And I'm no defender of Vladimir Putin. Please be very clear here, George.
Russia with the Jupiter missiles that were in Turkey. So the Russians had every right to be leery about him, and also in light of the fact that Kennedy did not stop the Bay of Pigs invasion, which he should have done.
Yeah.
But we live now in 2021, and Putin is a communist. He's a Soviet. That's the heart and soul of his being. And if he can get away with intimidating and threatening people with military action to get his aims, we'll all be the worse off for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't say he's a communist. I'd say he's an autocrat. He's an authoritarian. But he was a fan of that system. But my point is that I think that what he's doing here with all these troops is trying to cut a deal where we will not expand NATO. And as I said, I'm no fan of Putin, but I can understand that, having lived in the United States when the Soviet Union tried to put missiles 90 miles from our border and we freaked out. I don't think that we can have a double standard here. And this was, by the way, the deal that was cut. And when the Soviet Union fell, was that no country who's got a border with Russia, with the new Russia, would be a member of NATO. Now, we've already broken that deal, I believe, with the Baltic states. But I don't know. It's not an easy one, but I'm guessing.
Well, I would think that if Putin was really concerned about the welfare of his country, that he'd get his internal domestic act in order, because such a huge country with all its resources only has the GNP of Italy.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. And if I was running Russia, I'd probably run it differently. But I'm just talking about this situation in the Ukraine. I hope I'm right. And that he's not actually risking war. That this is a negotiating strategy. I may well be wrong. I have no special insights in here, George, other than having been all over that part of the world and all over this part of the world and having lived for. I think, as I said earlier, I think China represents a more existential threat. George, thanks for the call.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
48 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Shayna in Prairie Grove, Arkansas. Hey, Shayna, thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. All holidays matter.
There you go.
I think I might know a reason GOP does not mind killing off some of its own.
Okay.
They don't have anything to run on except for hate. They have nothing to run on.
Right.
Just say, for instance, they started agreeing with the masking and vaccines, nobody would come out to vote for them. So I think they're deducting, okay, we're going to lose 1%. We're going to lose some people if we keep the rest of them riled up, full of hate against Biden, because they don't have anything else to run on. And if they didn't rile them up, their voters wouldn't show up.
I think there might be another piece to this. The Washington Post just published a piece titled, here's the headline, Sidney Powell Group raised more than $14 million spreading election falsehoods. There is money to be made selling BS, to say it delicately, whether it's election falsehoods or whether it's ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And now they're eating dirt. Did you see this? There's this group that's selling dirt on the internet to anti-vaxxers, and the dirt is coming from a place that's downstream or downhill from a waste dump, a landfill, and apparently the dirt is filled with lead and chromium and toxic metals, but people are feeding this dirt to their kids?
Yeah. The next thing will be magic beans, right?
Yeah, most likely. It's magic dirt. Yeah, I'm with you. Shana, thank you very much for the call. It's good talking to you. Marshall in Rochester, Michigan. Hey, Marshall, what's on your mind today?
Hey, those guys and we guys are running on two different playing fields. We keep preaching democracy and how important it is, and the Republican Party is saying, what? And they have no concern for democracy, so we might as well drop that from our vocabulary.
Well, I think we need to hold on to our ideals. I don't think you surrender your ideals just because the other side has.
No.
I agree with your analysis, Marshall.
Yeah, but don't use that as a flag because they don't recognize it anyway. They haven't governed for years. They want to. Well,
I'm not trying to, in saying that the Democrats should start branding themselves as the party of freedom. I'm not arguing that will bring in Republican votes, but I do think it'll bring in undecided votes. I think it'll bring in low information voters, and I think it'll strengthen and energize the Democratic base. It did in the 30s and the 40s.
Well, I guess it's worked, so maybe I'm off base.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and if you thought that I was saying we need to, Democrats need to brand themselves as the Freedom Party in order to get Republican voters, I agree with your analysis. The Republican voters don't care. They are so deeply inside this bubble, inside this, they're down the rabbit hole. And exactly. They're not coming back for a while. It's going to take a real disaster for them to start waking up and coming back. But there's a lot of undecided people out there. There's a lot of folks in the middle.
Well, that's good too. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marshall. Good to hear from you. 52 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls. Right after this, it's the Thom Hartmann Program. Stay with us. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. 52 minutes past the hour. Debbie in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Hey, Debbie, what's on your mind today?
When I first turned your program on today, you were reading something about they were calling the nurses and doctors witches.
Yes, this was
hospital.
Yes.
Well,
right-wingers on
they
Facebook.
Are not witches. I just got out of the hospital with COVID.
Oh, my.
Pneumonia.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I'm 68 years old. I'm lucky that I made it through. Mm-hmm. I had my shot. Mm-hmm. And I masked up everywhere I went, which was mainly the grocery store. And I still got it.
Yeah.
And they said if I wouldn't have had the shot, I was possibly have died.
Right.
So I was admitted to hospital the 16th of November for acute respiratory failure due to COVID. Mm-hmm. And while in the hospital, they gave me a 5-day course of remdesivir and a 9-day course of Decadon steroid and oxygen.
Right, which is all the protocol right now.
Right, and they were the best people. They worked so hard with me and helped me. And for someone to call them witches really, really breaks my heart.
Yeah, I'm with you, Debbie. It is so unfortunate. I just, at times you just don't know what to say. It's the lies and slanders that are spreading, particularly on Facebook by these right wingers, are just pathetic. Debbie, thank you for the call.
That's why I won't even look at Facebook.
Yeah,
it's just I think a lot of the internet has ruined this world.
Yeah, it's become a sewer. Debbie, thank you for the call. And for sharing your story with us. It's very, very considerate of you. Joel in Joliet, Illinois. Hey, Joel, what's up?
Tom, how are you? Hey,
Good.
This Omicron, COVID, everyone's so confused because of GOP. Why are they killing their own people? You've said it many times in your show. Greed, greed, greed. Greed is the root of all evil. Greed is actually going to be the trait that basically is going to kill our race within climate change. If you look at every problem we have in America, you could always follow the money, like they say, greed, greed, greed.
Yeah.
So then they're going to say they're going to lose voters. They don't care. They got more voters. They run the numbers. They're going to pull this out. And they want to make Biden look bad. That's the main thing. They get back in power. We're toast. Now, political 101. The Reds eat red meat. The Democrats nibble on pasture grasses. It's not in our DNA to fight this. People want Democrats that can do both. And people, you had Jen Senko, brainwashing of my dad. People, Thom Hartmann listeners, you got to check out this documentary. If you want to know what you're dealing with, look up Brainwashing of My Dad by Jen Senko, The Rise of the Hate Media. It is serious.
It's available right now on Netflix.
Yes, book, documentary. She's phenomenal. And Tom, I just got to commend you. Your knowledge is unmatched, and I'm with you.
Oh, thank you, Joel. Thank you for your kind words, and thanks for watching us, ironically, on Facebook. I mean, we're there, too. Carol in Seattle. Carol, less than a minute left. You got a quick point?
Hi, yes. So you were right. Basically, they're getting paid either way. The corporate media, the liars, basically, and also on the platforms, they're getting paid. And that last caller made a point on the internet is a great multiplier of all this. I think we're underestimating that, and we're acting as if it was before. Anyway, got more, but look, we show up, we win. More voters.
There you go, Carol. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for being with us today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, don't forget democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires you. It requires all of us. But specifically, it requires you. So please get out there, get active, tag your it. Have a great afternoon. Be good to yourself and the people around you, right? We all need a little more kindness and consideration right now. We'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More info at hellofresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleep and pain relief. More info is available at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Ground News, a well-rounded perspective for news readers. More info at ground.news/Tom. Angie, for any project on your to-do list. More info at angie.com. Dinovite, a whole food supplement for your pet's immune system. More info at dinovite.com. And ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom.
We say fight back!
There's a bunch of items in the pledge drive that you can get with a $20 gift. There's the bumper sticker. The clear one is gone. We're out of inventory, but there is a bumper sticker with $20. With $50, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV viewer-designed bag or a pair of Free Speech TV socks. With the $75 gift, you have a choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Free Speech TV mug. With a $100 gift, there's the Free Speech TV notebook and pen, or Leonard Moore's new book, Teaching Black History to White People. With a $120 gift, there's a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, Why Sickness Bankrupts You and Makes Others Insanely Rich. With or the Free Speech TV Solidarity t-shirt. With a $240 gift, there's our Zoom meeting, our Free Speech TV meet and greet. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the in-person meet and greet, which is where you come here to Portland and hang out with us. And of course,